Hey, brother, how you doing?
Hang on, I can't hear you. You can hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you
Okay.
fine.
Okay. You'd think being a computer guy would be able to just
Well, I'll just keep speaking. Maybe you'll hear me eventually. Oh, this is precious. We have this on
hang on. We're going to
video.
figure this out.
Okay.
Well, I can see you and you can hear me.
Right.
Um, I just got to figure out why I can't hear you. Okay. Hang on a second. If I figure it out, I'll be able to hear you.
Well, I could just
Hey,
keep.
there you are. There you are. Got
Okay,
it.
there you go.
Got it. Got
Good.
it. Got it. Hey, you know what? Some computer guy, huh? I went to the speaker settings inside my video, and then it said use your microphone as your speaker. And I was
Mm,
like, no, no, use my speaker as my speaker, and
right.
boom, magically here we are.
This is one of those precious moments in life where you have a guy like you who's, the professor who
Right,
kind of stumbles and trips, and so you just kind of like paving the way for the rest of the show.
right. That was very reminiscent of Bill Gates on stage introducing Windows and then a blue screen.
That's funny. I'm so glad you're here today.
Well, I'm super excited to talk to you. This is great. I'm looking forward to this. This is totally something different than what I usually do. So for me, it's a nice little twist. I love it.
I love meeting new people, and no matter what their specialty is, just kind of like sitting down, like we're having a beer or two,
Yeah, yeah.
and revealing a side of them that is rarely put out there publicly. So for me, it's a lot of fun.
Well, I think I'm the same way. I like meeting all kinds of new people, whether they're from, the town next door or across the world. Their experiences, dining experiences, life experiences, just different things. We get so channeled into people that are like us. We spend every day talking to people that are just like us, and life becomes quickly boring that way, and
Oh yeah.
so I'm definitely, and I'm a little jealous that you're in Hawaii. I'm not gonna lie. If I had more time, I probably would have. Well, as soon as I told my wife that I was doing the podcast with you, and she's like, "So when are we going?" I'm like, "Well, that's not really how it works, honey."
Oh, she
So,
thought it was like a taping, a
well, yeah,
scheduled thing.
right, exactly. Well, she sees, like other YouTubers like flying to Amsterdam to do a live, and I'm like, "No, that's not how it works."
Oh,
But she
I'd be
insisted.
happy to go there and do the show.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, she was insistent that we become good friends, so that
Oh
I would
well,
have
too late.
right, so that I would
Yeah,
have a reason to go to Hawaii. I'm like, well, okay, why don't you just tell me you want me to take you to Hawaii? You don't have to beat around the bush.
that's right. We don't need Matthew.
Right. But we know a guy, and
Right, we know a
knowing a
guy.
guy is, that's half the battle right there. So,
They talk about Hawaii being just this brutal place to live because of the prices and the
yeah,
expenses.
yeah,
No one ever really factored in the fact that once you move from LA to Hawaii, that your mom's calling you the next 10 years every time her video is blinking zero, and I
right.
have to book passage back to LA to be
Oh
able to
gosh,
fix her
gosh,
video or whatever it might be. So that even
well,
adds to it.
yeah, but there is a trade off for living in paradise. So
Right.
there's that.
Right.
Yeah,
The price of
and the
paradise.
lava. Well, the lava is probably a problem. But
Yeah,
so have you been
over
affected by that?
um
Because you're on
psychically.
Oahu, right?
Right, right.
Right.
No lava here
Okay.
lately. That's over on the Big Island and so on, and Maui, where the fires were.
Okay.
So, but
Good.
we're affected in the sense that because we're so insular
Right.
and the most isolated populated landmass in the world, that, there's a lot of that kind of, you can feel the internal pain that's going on within the state because of
Right.
that.
Because it's still
Yeah,
your community.
right.
They may not be your immediate neighbors, but you still feel their pain because they're right next door. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
100%. Well, I'm glad that everything worked out and everybody was safe for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For the most part, of course, there are a lot of what I call refugees who were evacuated, who came to this island, and I did my best to cook and help
Right.
and house as many people as I could.
Right. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
So, my right earbud, I have these Beats, which I love. They're super high quality, but my right one is not kicking in, so I'm only hearing you through my left ear. If I'm only half there, you'll know why.
Okay. Fair
Okay.
enough. Well, hey, probably only half the stuff I say is interesting anyway. So hopefully it'll be on the left side and not the right side.
Oh, good, good, good. We're going to be
Right.
fine then.
I'm a solutions provider, man. That's what I do.
You ever noticed regarding your hearing, since this is coming up, that throughout your life listen to the phone on one side more so
Yep.
than the other. So
Yep.
what's your good side?
Probably my right side. I'm right dominant pretty much with everything.
And so right dominant, you think that kind of carries through to how we hear or listen?
Well, I know that if I've tried to listen on my phone in my left ear, it lasts about 4 seconds and I have to just switch back. And I don't know if
Hmm.
it's just habit or I really don't. I'm a half century old. So I know stuff is going to stop working. And I just assume it's my left ears. I blame it on all the rock concerts I went to. And I said, well, maybe I was turned towards whatever. I just right ear, right hand, right everything.
You make it sound like a half century is a long time. You're just a baby.
Well, I look at it. I mean, glacially, I'm
Uh,
really an infant. If you think about it, I mean, I'm only 1/20th of a millennium. So, I, in that case, I should just be getting my driver's license and starting life.
they say if the human life was paralleled or contrasted with the life of the earth, we would
Right.
only live 141 seconds.
Well, that's comforting.
Yeah, so we're way past that.
Right. Well, it kind of reminds me of the thing you see online all the time. One of those motivational things where it's like if someone were to give you $86,400 every morning when you wake up, but you had to spend it all, what would you do? And then, when they say, well, it's actually 86,400 seconds in a day, how are you spending them? And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that kind of always sticks with me is, could I be doing something else? Could I be doing something better or spending my time more wisely or doing something today that I really didn't want to do until tomorrow? Just knock it out and get done with it.
Do you think questioning yourself related to that specific helps motivate you to be and do the things that that question evokes?
Good question. I maybe not that like a meme specifically, not like things like that will stick in my head, but
Hmm.
I have found that the thing that motivates me the most is feeling like I have been busy and doing stuff and turn out I really didn't get much done. Whether it's my channel or my local business or whatever, or I find I don't realize I've been too lazy until the end of the day when I kind of have when my wife comes home from work and I just want to tell her, here's all I did all day. And then when the conversation lasts like 14 seconds, I'm like, I really didn't do a whole, so that kind of motivates me to say, today or tomorrow, I'm going to have a whole list of stuff for her to do, or for her to hear about when she comes
Oh,
home. And then
right.
when she walks in, she's like, "Can you stop talking for a minute?" And I was like, "Well, but I had a productive day, and I did the dishes, so there you go." So
Oh, wow. Nowadays it's pretty easy to just communicate with ChatGPT and have it give you a list of things to tell your wife what you did and accomplished.
yeah, you know what? But the problem with that, most of what I tell her about is things that either she sees on YouTube or she sees from walking into the house. I did the dishes and made the bed. I did this. I cleaned up. I would. So if I didn't, I could lie, but she would bust me in a second. And then if I tell her I made 3 videos, she'd be like, "Okay, where are they?" And I don't,
Oh,
so there's really no. Well, the general rule is just don't lie to your wife. That's
yeah,
just a
yeah, that's a
good
good one.
good concept to live by. Yeah.
So not only will she ask the questions, but she'll want to see evidence.
Yeah. Well, I kind of made the mistake of letting her be my biggest or my what do we call it? I basically, like, if I make a video, I'll play it for her before it goes live so that she can kind of critique it, right? Because she's not a YouTuber, but she supports my channel, she supports me, and I'm like, how was it? I mean, be honest. Was it really bad, or was it, so yeah, so she keeps me accountable. How about that?
You know what? It feels like over the past couple of few months we've become really great buddies, and
I
so
know,
having you
right?
on feels so easy.
Well, it was funny because I was talking to my wife before we started this podcast, and I was like, I'm here. I sit in front of the camera all day long. I make videos all day long. I literally talk to a little black box like it's a person, which is a skill that I wouldn't wish on anybody. I said, I do this all day. This is what I do. I've got the studio set up, the microphone, the lighting, I've got everything perfect, exactly like I want it. Why am I nervous about talking to somebody I've been goofballing with back and forth for the last few weeks and months. And I'm like, I think it's just because it's outside of my norm that
Mm-hmm.
it's just different. But 60 seconds talking to you, I'm like, okay, it's like I'm hanging out with one of my buddies. So
That's
I'm
right.
cool. I'm
That's
happy
right.
with it. Aside from the fact that you're in Hawaii, I'm not gonna let that go, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Keep repeating that because that brings in more listeners,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
we're gonna go to parts unknown today. So it's not going to only be about the zeros and ones.
Excellent. Well, you just described my life in a nutshell. So let's do it. Let's do it. I'm loving it.
I've been watching Ask Your Computer Guy for a while, and I was thinking, oh, I could never get him on. But I'm one of those people from the old days, more than half a century old, and
Right.
I'm used to the handshakes and the schmoozing and the hugging and the letter writing and the banging on the doors, and so it doesn't bother me to just reach out and say, hey, would you like to be my guest? And so
100%.
that's how I get people. So it just doesn't happen automatically.
Right. Well, and to add to that, something my mother told me from a very young age, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Right.
And I found
Exactly.
out many times when, as a teenager, I wanted to go out with my friends or go to the mall or go see a movie or have $20 to go do whatever. And I never asked because I figured the answer would be no. Now, as you get older and you care a little less about what people think about your question, it's easier for sure. Cause you're like, well,
Right.
whatever. I've raised kids. I'm used to, rejection. But I have learned sometimes that, and some of the best connections I've made have been just because, like you, I just reach out and I'm like, hey, let's be friends, you know?
That's
And
cool.
so sometimes they just go, you catch somebody at a certain point in their life where, like me, for example, I'm just grinding constantly, working home, working YouTube, whatever. It was like, this was just absolutely, I was excited to do this because it just looked, well, first of all, it's different, which is good. And it just looked like fun. It just, I literally got on YouTube and watched all your YouTube videos. I started listening to the spot and I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. He's just two guys hanging out talking. And I was like, let's do that. So,
Yeah.
and now that we've done this, I have no doubt, that there'll always be at least a shack in the back of your place for us if we ever come to Hawaii,
Oh, you betcha. No doubt about it. So
or at
I'm going
least
to
send
ask
me
you,
to a friend's house. Hey, I trust them. Stay there.
can you
Right.
take care of the Merrills, please?
Thank you. Right.
So, before we talk about all the great things we're going to be speaking about, I usually begin each show by asking my guests, what have you eaten today?
Okay. So before I answer this,
Uh-huh.
okay, this will prove that I know I've watched your stuff, I've listened to your stuff. I'm gonna One thing you're gonna learn about me is there is no quick answers with me. Everything seems to have a backstory, which might play well for your podcast. Um, I knew you were gonna ask me this. Now, if you ask me any other day of the week, this time of a day, any day of the week, the answer is going to be, well, coffee, because that's pretty much, I don't do breakfast. I rarely eat lunch. I usually eat one big meal
Hmm.
for dinner and I'm done. But I knew you were going to ask me this question. So it just so happens that my wife made the most amazing Greek tzatziki pasta salad with Kalamata olives and artichoke hearts and fresh feta and for me to be able to remember all those ingredients, that should be a plus in my corner because I was not sure I was going to remember all that. But that's what I ate today, and
Oh,
coffee, of course.
that sounds great.
Just
Now, is that an olive oil dressing or is that
oh,
some sort of a
don't ask me
yogurt?
complicated questions. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
She made it. She put it on in a bowl. It tastes really good. I don't really care.
So you ask no questions.
I'm
She
like a
takes
half.
care of the food.
I'm like a foodie in training. I know foods, but I don't know foods that way. I know when I like it. I don't care what's in
Okay.
it. Um,
So it was a Greek salad with
it right. It's a Greek tzatziki salad. It's got the gosh. If she was here, she'd be rolling her eyes at me right now.
Kalamata olives.
Kalamata olives, artichoke hearts, fresh feta.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
it's
so
delicious.
was that a breakfast item?
No, we're actually cooking some ribeyes on the grill this evening.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I need to make something to go with the ribeyes. And she's like, well, and she's big about food. She's in the kitchen. She channels her ancestors and just makes the most amazing food. 98% of which I could not tell you from one day to the next. I just generally sit next to her while we eat it and go, okay, this is top three, this is top five, this is my favorite dish ever, and then she remembers, so I don't have
Wow. Okay. So, as far as role playing goes and so on,
to.
she's the one who's doing the food and the cooking. You're the
Oh
one
yeah.
who's doing the
Well,
eating and the
well,
muscle bound stuff.
she's the one that inspired me to be okay with expanding my food horizons.
Uh huh.
Now, I knew when I met her, and we both agreed that we do not eat beets, that she was the one for me. And I said I was going to marry her then at that point because we don't do beets. I don't know. Hopefully that didn't offend anybody listening, but I just don't do beets, right?
Well, you
So,
missed our all beats show apparently.
well, it would be the anti-beet show. How many people out there don't like them? But I know they're good for you and all that. I just don't care for them. But I will eat pretty much everything else, especially things I maybe haven't tried before. Perfect example: New Year's Eve. We did black-eyed peas and um, collard greens, I think, for
Uh
whatever
huh.
the traditional New Year's thing is. And
Yeah.
I've had it before. Did not care for them. And she's like, "Do you trust me?" But yes, I
Right.
trust you. And
Do I
she
look
made it
fat in this?
right.
Yeah.
I'm way past that. I'm way past that. But she made it. I said, "Okay, sure." And you're an amazing cook, and I'll try it. And I ate it, and I was like, "Wow, that really opened my eyes." So that taught me that just because you've had something before that maybe wasn't your favorite, if it's prepared differently by someone who actually puts love into their cooking, it can change everything. Now, we cook together. She tells me what to do, and basically, I'm the world's laziest sous chef.
Hmm.
But I can oil pans, I can stir, I can do all the incorporating, I can mix, I can slice, I can do all the things that she really doesn't want to. I can cut up all the chicken, all the things she hates. But we have found that it's brought us a lot closer when we actually cook together. As long as I just do exactly what she tells me and don't wander off the path and try to do it myself. Just, hey, you want me to stir these? It took me a long time to learn I wasn't supposed to stir rice. I got in so much trouble for that.
Oh
But
boy.
but I
Yep.
learned
Yep.
if
Yep.
rice is on the stove, don't touch it unless my wife says go stir that. So, but yeah, we cook together. She's taught me a lot about food, most of which I don't remember,
Hmm.
but I enjoy cooking with her, and her food's fantastic. It's really taught me to expand my horizons. And we literally just the other day made a list of all the places locally that we have not been. Either one of us has not been, or both of us have never been. And it was 3 solid pages of restaurants. And that really got me thinking. It's like you like the same things over and over. You get comfortable with the same kind of food. And it's like, why would you not want to try something new? There's a Greek restaurant in town. Go try it, and things like that. So that's what we've been working on, is trying to pick a place to eat that we haven't been before, and we either go back or we scratch it off the list.
You got to commit to that list
Yeah.
because, growing up here, um, well, for the past 30 years at least,
Right.
in Hawaii, and being a food writer, a food critic, running the Hawaii food tours for so many years,
Right.
and I've met so many people here, and I'll ask, it's very typical of me to say, so what are some of your favorite places? And people just, for some unknown reason, shut down.
Right.
They can't tell you where they go because
Right.
I think they feel a little bit of intimidation when I ask, but really it boils down to what you just said. People go to the same two or
Right.
three places, and that is that, and they don't want to
We're
share it.
creatures of habit. That's what we do. We like a
Right.
place and we go, it's a Mediterranean restaurant, and I've always had good food, good service. It's, inexpensive. So I just keep going there. But
Hmm.
and I think a lot of that is just nobody wants to be disappointed. You don't want to go try a new Pan American restaurant only to find out that it's not as good as when you went to Jamaica and had food there. So if you just don't go, you don't get disappointed. But we just decided, you know what? If we're going to go out to eat, we have to start on the list, go to the places that neither of us have been. And then once we get, and we put little asterisks next to the places that one of us has been. So if there's no asterisks, then it's free game. It's let's go there and let's try it together. And then when we get through that list, we'll go to the places that maybe she has been that I haven't.
You know, what you just described a moment ago is what I've always called diner's remorse. And that's when
Yes.
you go to a restaurant and for
Right.
whatever reason, it just does not turn out the way
Right.
you had hoped. And yeah, so that's that. But it is definitely worthwhile trying out new and different things
Right.
because, like you said, how can discovery ever take place if you don't?
Right. And we actually just yesterday we discovered that not all Chinese food tastes the same.
Hmm.
We went to a local restaurant that we had never been to before, sat down, and immediately we're like 3, 4 out of 10. But it's been around the corner, and we've always talked about it every time we drive by. So now and that's how you learn. That's how you become more cultured in the different varieties of food out there.
Right. There's so many variables with
Yes.
Chinese food as there are with all different cultures' foods.
Right.
It's
Right.
really it becomes American Chinese, not
Right.
actual or authentic
Well,
Chinese, and that's fine.
when her lo mein noodles, I think were actually just seasoned spaghetti noodles. I think that was a
Hmm.
pretty good indicator that but that's a perfect example. Some places are just that way, and some places are the best Chinese food you'll ever put in your mouth, and they can be two doors down from each other. So if you don't experience them, you don't listen to your friends or take their advice or just try new stuff. How do you know?
You're the I think the first person that I've asked during the show what they have eaten today, and what you described with that wonderful Greek salad is an interesting choice for your early meal of the day. So was that more of a lunch or was that the breakfast?
That was, I think, my wife having listened to me, listening to you, knowing you were going to ask.
Right.
And of course, like I said, I've been snacking on it all day. And she's like, if you keep eating it, we're going to be eating ribeyes by themselves. I don't normally, like I said, I don't normally eat. I haven't eaten breakfast in 35 years.
Uh-huh.
Since I was in the military, I just don't. I might eat lunch if I get hungry, but I'm usually just back here working in the studio all day, and I just don't even think about it until 2 or 3 o'clock, and I get that stomach grumble. Then I'm like, well, gosh, we're a couple hours from dinner, so I'll just snack on a leftover and piece of chicken or something, and I'm done. But yeah, I just unfortunately anybody who has any kind of health or fitness routine is probably rolling their eyes and slamming doors right now hearing that. But no, I've never eaten breakfast really, and food isn't really terribly important to me until my body goes, hey, you haven't had any.
Wow. You're one of those eat to live types then.
It's not by design. I mean, I know they always say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but here's what's happened to
Well,
me.
that's
And I
bullshit though.
give me some coffee and back away slowly. Just don't even try to come at me with food. God
Right.
bless her. I pick on my wife all the time, but she's amazing. Like she leaves for work at 7 o'clock in the morning. We used to do all I won't mention the names specifically, but like the food delivery services that like
Uh,
ship you food automatically. You pick your food and they send it to you, right?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, for us, it was great. We both worked from home. It was convenient. There was always something to eat prepared, all the food. We didn't have to go to the grocery. It was great. So she has a stack about inch and a half thick that when she's about to leave for work, she hands me the stack of papers and goes, you choose what we're eating. And if we have all the ingredients, great. If not, Scott's going to the grocery store at some point while she's at work. But and sometimes I'll go through and I'll be like, well, do we have all the ingredients for this? Because I really don't want to go to the store today. But but we never fight about what we're eating because we agree ahead of time. She is great about helping me appreciate food in a way I didn't. So
Mm-hmm.
naturally, when you reached out to me and I found out your podcast was based in food, my first reaction was, we watched Triple D and all I guarantee you on paper I could beat Bobby Flay. Now in reality,
Okay.
no,
Yeah,
but
on
in
paper is
reality,
important though
on paper,
because
yeah, in my living room, I'm killing him because
yeah.
I mean, I got it, but yeah, in reality, it's not going to happen. But I'm like, I know, we watch so much Food Network and all the shows, and I know all the popular chefs and all the Iron Chefs and whatever, and I'm like, how can I be this dumb in food after watching all of this stuff? But I thought it would be fun because you're a food based podcast to interject some of the you know again, you don't want to talk to people who are just like you. Sometimes hearing people who like food but don't know anything about food might be a little bit interesting conversation. So
Oh yeah.
I'm your guy.
Before we get back to food, over your shoulder there
Yep.
is a digital readout that at this moment says 98,569.
Yes.
Now, I've been
Yes.
watching you for a while, and in all your videos, it appears. Can you explain to our audience what that is?
That is my subscriber counter on YouTube. tell you a funny story. I got to reach over here.
Okay,
Okay.
real good. This is Scott reaching right now, everyone.
This is something that was very special to me. You can tell it's a bar napkin. This is how bad I wanted to succeed on YouTube. About 3 years ago, I went to the bar and I sat down with my tequila and my orange juice. And I was like, I'm going to figure out how to get to 100,000 subscribers. And I just started writing out video ideas on this. But if you look at the very top,
Yeah.
see what it says 100K right here.
100K, right, right, right.
That was my goal. I wanted that silver play button. And my wife, she found this and went and had it framed for me so I could keep it here at my desk and never forget why I do what I do.
That's
Uh,
awesome. You know, one thing that's glaringly missing from your list to get to 100,000 subscribers is coming onto my show,
hey,
which won't help you one bit.
no, you know what? It's funny because when you are trying to grow a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
whether it's the people you meet or the contacts you make or the sponsors, the brands that you work with, or the comments that you answer or the emails that you get, all that stuff, because we are so laser focused on getting to a goal, anything that doesn't directly benefit us, we tend to push off to the side. And I knew that my audience is computer people. They're not going to be interested in, you have to know your audience, right?
Sure.
Your audience is people who are interested in food and intellectual conversations. But my audience just wants to see computer stuff. But that's why when you reached out to me, the first thing that popped in my head is A, that looks like fun. B, maybe there's something I can do to help him,
Hmm.
whether it's just bring a few new eyeballs to your podcast or whatever. But it wasn't about, I decided it was like, it wasn't about what I could get out of it. Can I do something to benefit another creator, which is what you are. Matter of fact, as an aside, I had a conversation with a creator in one of our Facebook groups where it's a paid group that I'm in, that we as creators, we help each other grow and, give each other advice and sometimes some hard love. Um, but he's doing everything he can. He's making tons of videos or whatever, and he's just not growing. And he's like, look, you're killing it. I'm willing to listen to whatever you have to tell me, but can we talk? And so, he called and we sat and talked for an hour yesterday, and I gave him some tough love. Um, but it's difficult because I don't see myself as the type of person that is worthy of giving anyone advice. I mean, I look at that number over here and I'm like, how did that happen? You know?
Right, right.
And I think authenticity in what you do, whether it's YouTube or a podcast or just the way you communicate with people, I think authenticity is a big selling point. I think a lot of people tune into my channel because they feel like I'm their next door computer guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I try to infect others with that. I'm like, if you really, content's great, thumbnails are great. You really want to connect with people, be yourself. Just be
Right.
yourself.
Right,
People will
right.
relate to you. People see when you're fake. And I gave up trying to be somebody I wasn't a long time ago, and everything worked out after that.
How long has it taken you to get to 100?
I started my YouTube channel about 3 years ago. As of a year ago yesterday, I only had about 2,500 subscribers.
2,500.
2,500. A lot of what I've learned, I spent a lot of time learning. If I'm not making videos, I'm learning how to make better videos. I'm watching all the growth channels. I'm learning reviewer retention and thumbnails and it's tough to put your face in a thumbnail because my mom always said I had a face for radio, so I don't know how to fix that. But
Good
uh,
old mom.
but I don't. I'm not a graphic designer, so I'm not going to be killing thumbnails. I have something to say and I say it, and I don't. I'm not a great editor. But what I do have is valuable content that actually works. So I just do what I can do.
Right.
But like I said, I was in this other group, and the gentleman that runs the group gave me a little nugget of advice a while back on a live stream. It wasn't for me. It was just he was talking on a live stream, and his exact words, I'll never forget it. He says, "Open the funnel," and I was like, "Okay, not sure exactly what that," but it's you're too narrow. You're too narrow. Like if, for example, on your podcast, if it was 50 tastes of grapefruit,
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who loves grapefruit is going to tune in. They're going to love it. But anybody who isn't really a big fan of grapefruit isn't probably not going to be interested. The first 50, 60, 70 videos I made were laptop disassembly videos where I'd show
Uh-huh.
people how to take a laptop apart, right? And I thought, hey, I'm making content. I'm a creator now, right? Well, people would come in, they'd learn what they needed to learn, and then they'd leave. They wouldn't subscribe. They wouldn't stick around, but they were really happy that I helped them out. And so that's about the time where the guy, my friend, he said, open the funnel. You know so much. You've been doing this over 30 years. Talk about the things that you know in the broadest sense that you can. So I shifted, I unlisted all those videos, got them completely off YouTube. I didn't want people even looking at them. And I started making content that appealed to a larger audience, Windows users, PC advice in general, things like that. And after I did that, my channel just went straight vertical. And it's
Wow.
in the last year, I've gotten 95,000 subscribers in less than a year. But it was because I got out of my own way
Mm-hmm.
and stopped thinking that I knew what I was doing and realized that there's people out there who know more than me. That's applied to all different aspects of my life. It's not just that, but food, like like my wife with the black eyed peas and the collard greens. You know what? Get out of your own way and trust that somebody knows more than you. And it's a good life principle, but it's benefited me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. So now at getting close, nearing the 100,000 mark, subscribers, has the engagement also risen along with that number of subs? Are people doing the
Yes.
back and forth like we're doing right now? Are they asking questions that
Oh
are
my
good
gosh.
ones? And yeah.
I need to hire somebody full time just to respond to my comments.
Mm-hmm.
A year ago, if I got 10 comments a week, I would be like, it is great because I like to engage with people. If people have a question about a video or they say, you lost me on this part. Can you clarify? I'm like, absolutely. You know, boom, 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 type it up. And they're like, thank you so much. I didn't believe the comment I get the most is, I can't believe you actually responded. Like apparently that's a thing on YouTube where you make a comment and the creator doesn't even bother. I'd done that for the longest time. I would respond to every single comment that came in because that was a piece of advice from one of my YouTube growth channels is engage with your audience. They took the time to comment, show them respect and take the time to reply back. Even if you don't answer their question, they at least feel like they matter enough that you took the
Right.
time. And I just took that mentality when that was great when it was 10, 15 comments a week. Now it's anywhere from 100 to 300 comments a day.
Wow.
So, on top of running a local business, on top of running a YouTube channel, managing a YouTube channel, creating video, coming up with ideas, creating, editing, thumbnails. Oh, and on top of that, I'm married with I have a wife and a somewhat kind of a social life. It gets tough. But so now what I would do is I'll look through all the comments, but the ones that are, and I don't just respond to the ones that are, hey, great video. I actually try to respond to the ones that um, genuinely need more help, because that was the whole purpose of me starting the Ask Your Computer Guy channel. Is people always come to me for computer advice, and I was like, just ask your computer guy. Oh, that's me. Sorry, um, and it just kind of turned into now 100,000 people on the planet kind of look at me as their personal computer guy, and I try to do as much as I can. But with growth comes issues, and one of them being I just can't respond to everybody.
Right.
So
I bet your demo must understand that at some level that when you get to these kind of numbers that you're only going to be answering the ones you can get to, the
right.
questions. Yeah.
Well, and here's a way that I've usually, like, if someone, for example, if somebody would comment, go, "Hey, great video, really helped me out." In the past, I would normally I'd heart the comment, to, hey, thank you so much. And then actually take the time to say, thank you so much. I appreciate your support, or I appreciate you supporting the channel. Now it's just, I'm going to heart the comment and I'm going to go on to another comment that actually requires me to type something. Um,
Hmm.
it, it's not as not, I ideally would literally give a response to every single person if I could, but be careful what you ask for. So I
Right.
just do what I can. I try to answer, if I'm standing in line at the DMV, I'm responding to comments. If I'm waiting to get my hair cut, I'm responding to comments. It's anytime I have a few minutes, I will go through and I will address them as I can. But it just kind of scares me because it's like at 100,000, that's a little scary. What's going to happen if it goes to 200,000 or bigger? And
Wow.
you know, I mean, good problem to have, but I don't ever want to feel disconnected from my viewers because they're the reason I'm able to stay home and make free content for them.
So when you attain your goal, which is going to come real soon, obviously, does that become the time to set the new goal, or do you say, okay, real good, pop a beer, and kick back for a while?
As I told you before, with my my and it's funny, you can tell how many drinks I had by how the handwriting is on the third column. It's nice and clean on the first one.
Right.
I might have had a few while I was writing this down. That was the
Tequila
last.
and OJ, that's your drink.
That's tequila screwdrivers. Anybody want to donate one? I'll be
Okay,
more than happy.
fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. On a healthy food podcast, let's talk about that. But that was my primary goal, and I didn't really set goals at the time because I literally had, oh gosh, I maybe had a couple hundred, 200 subscribers, but I was like, I'm gonna do this. I see the people with the silver play buttons. I don't know how, but I'm gonna figure it out. And that was the last time I set an actual goal, and I put it on paper because what you write, you become. That's why I have my digital thing here, because I can see it as I'm making videos. I can see it behind me. I can see it as it rolls over, and it reminds me that what I'm doing right now is making that happen. Um, that's one of the reasons. See this little silly thing behind me here?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a I made this a few weeks ago because I didn't want to wait for YouTube to send me a play button. So just for fun, I took some cardboard and I made my own silver play button. Now,
That's great.
that was also a motivator. And to be fair, I'm close enough where it's going to happen. But I
Hmm.
also did this on purpose because I've got a lot of local friends who are big supporters of my channel. And for the 100,000K rollover, I said, you know what? I'm going to have a party. We're gonna grill burgers, dogs, whatever, chips, dip, salsa, all the things. Bring whatever you want to drink, but my house is your house, my food is your food because you guys have supported me. So I decided to make this and get a bunch of paint pens, and I'm gonna have everybody that comes to the party sign it,
Oh yeah.
and it'll go, well, it'll probably go right here underneath the actual silver play button.
Hmm.
But as far as goals, to answer that question, my goals are daily goals now. As far as like what number I want to be at, I don't care about that because subscribers is just a vanity metric. It means nothing. So it's nice to have a goal like that, and that's why you always see the creators putting them on the wall because I know how hard it is to get to that point. It's a lot of grinding, and I did that for a long time in my spare time, and there's definitely a story there. But um, I just never lost. I never lost hope. Okay, truth be told, we're gonna get on. We're gonna get real here. Okay.
Oh, here we go, folks. Open up your
Yeah.
ears. I'm going to get my hanky. I think this is leading into something.
This is gonna be pretty deep. Well, this is some personal introspection here, and
Hmm.
I hope maybe somebody listening feels or has felt this way because I'd like to for them to see, hey, if you figure out what you want to do and you just put everything you have into it, you can do it. My whole life, I have always tried this. I've tried this, trying to figure out what my direction was. I don't know if it was, do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to be a college guy? Whatever. And it just, no matter what I tried, it bombed. It might do real good for a minute, or sometimes it didn't even get out of the box. And I knew when I got into computers 30 some odd years ago that I was good at it. I was just naturally good at it. Um, and I knew that I could make a career out of it or at least have stable income, but it was always working for somebody else. And so I've been working in IT after I got out of the military. I worked in IT jobs, one back and forth to the other. And it just, I was always working really hard to put money in somebody else's pocket. And, the boss had the nice sports car in the driveway or in the parking lot. And I'm the one that's staying after work to finish up a project. And I was working for a company. I'm not going to mention any names, but I was working for this company, and I had worked myself up from the very bottom on the help desk, and I started at the very bottom, and within 5, 6 years, I had worked my way up to running or supervising the IT department, and I was like, I was making good money. I had a whole team. I was loving my life. Had great job, great hours, great benefits. And company got bought by a bigger company. And long story short, after 8 years of missing recitals and, birthday parties and holidays and, having to work through a weekend because of an outage, whatever, 60, 70 hours a week sometimes, they just decided my services were no longer needed. Company did not need me anymore. And that forced me into starting my own local business. Now, this was in 2008, where the economy was absolutely in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
I tried. I could not even get a job at McDonald's. Now, at the time, I was married and I had two small children under the age of 3. I was scared, but
Oh
I
yeah.
started my computer business and I literally didn't even have the money at the time to have business cards made. I'll never forget this. I was sitting at our little local coffee shop. This is where all the old geezers would hang out every morning. The retirees, they'd sit there, drink their coffee, and tell lies, right? I took a piece of paper. I managed to find a little planner and I had some blank pieces of paper. And I one day just literally sat there. I took this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And you know how, like, remember in school where you wanted to tear a piece of paper, you fold it and you lick it and then you can tear it really easily?
Right, right.
I'd split that 8.5 by 11 piece of paper into 10 individually or equally sized. And I wrote Scott Merrill and my phone number, computer repair. And anybody who, some of the guys there knew I was a computer guy, so they would be, hey, Billy so and so, hey, meet my friend Scott. That was my business card. And the small town that I lived in at the time, it was real easy for word to get around that there's a new computer guy in town, and it just grew from there. And one thing led to another, and I got involved with the referrals group, and it spread. Now I was the computer guy for the local business or the local
Mm-hmm.
town, which was great because now I could actually afford to eat. My babies were not going to starve. And so I did that, and that's this business I still run to this day, 15 years later. But the YouTube thing, there's a really funny story there, and I want to tell you this because I don't want us to get sidetracked. This will be, and if there's anybody who actually has teenagers listening, they're really going to laugh at this. If you ask back in our generation, when they asked us, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was a police officer, a firefighter. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor, right? Now, if you ask, 80% of the kids are going to say, I want to be a creator. I want to be an Instagrammer. I want to be on TikTok. I want to make, I want to be an influencer, right? So that being said, I was perfectly happy doing my normal thing with my computer business, fixing computers, and it was paying the bills. And my son, who was 15, just maybe turned 16, 15, 16, somewhere in there, I was like, hey, you're going to be graduating high school soon. Have you given any thought as to what you're going to do? I don't care if you want to be an underwater basket weaver. Be the best you can, and I will put you through underwater basket weaving school. No problem. Just figure out what you want to do, and that means try everything until something just clicks, right? So of course he wants to be a YouTuber, and he tells me this. Now at the time, I had um, considered starting a YouTube channel because I realized at some point I'm like, I'm a computer guy, but I can't keep doing this forever. I mean, I'm getting older. I'm getting up, I'm going to people's houses, I'm fixing the computers, and carrying computers is now tough.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
God
yeah,
for thank God for heated seats in my car. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
But anyway, so I had this conversation with my son. He's right about 15, 16 years old, and he wants to be a YouTuber. And I tried to explain to him, because I had been itching to create a YouTube channel. I've been watching a lot of the YouTube growth stuff, and it's all, hey, don't worry about lighting and camera and audio and whatever. If you have a message, and your audio is the most important thing. If you got decent audio, people will let it slide if your video is not crystal clear, but if your audio
Mm-hmm.
sucks, forget about it, right?
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, he was like, I want to have all the lighting. He wants the typical YouTube studio look, ironically, kind of like I sort of have now, right?
Right,
But
right.
it didn't come on day one. My day one videos were me sitting at this horrible corner office desk, but I had a message, and I said, I will buy equipment and upgrade my look as I can afford to, but right now I don't. And he was like, no, I need the light, this lighting, and this one is, I need the fancy cameras and all this. I said, and so this is what I'm getting at. As I told him, I said, because I just got tired of listening to the argument because I had been watching all these videos about you don't need all this stuff you don't need to be great to start. You need to start to be great. It's always resonated with me. And whatever you do, just put everything you have into it. And if it's not perfect, people will let it slide. So I just looked right at him. I said, look, dude, I'm tired of arguing with you about this. I said, you're not going to start a YouTube channel until you have all this fancy stuff you need. I said, I'll make you a bet right now. I said, I have an iPhone and a cheap little $15 ring light that I picked up somewhere on Facebook Marketplace or something. I
Right.
said, I've got an iPhone and a ring light, and I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I will have 1,000 subscribers and be monetized before you have one. And he's like, bet. 98 plus thousand subscribers later, I've upgraded my equipment, nicer lighting, all the fancy things, and he still has not started his channel.
Oh,
Not a single video, not a single subscriber, because he's waiting for the greatness to happen before he works for it. And as a dad, I was just really more of me being a dad. I was like, look, I can show you, I can do this, and if I can do this, you can do it, you know. But anyway, so in part of my desire was just to prove to him that you don't need all that fancy equipment to start. You don't need it to be great. Just be good at what you do, find what you want to do, and just be good at it. And ironically, you know, he's a big supporter of my channel. I think he's realized now that he lost the bet. And so yeah, so that's one of my favorite stories when people ask about what made me decide to start a YouTube channel. It's, well, the obstinance of a teenager is kind of what did it. Because I was just fine. I'm done arguing with you. Just watch me.
you know,
And that's exactly how it happened.
that's so interesting because, you know, I like to study psychology and society and culture. And so it leads me to a couple of different questions. Is Sonny Boy now doing underwater basket weaving in a tutu?
Ironically, no.
Okay.
But what he is doing, and I'm not I think he's working at a restaurant or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Um, but he's really I like to brag on my kid a little bit. He kind of went from, I don't know if, like, he was the one that I was expecting I was gonna have to save up bail money for. I'm not gonna lie. And if parents out there like who have multiple kids are like, one's gonna put me through my retirement, and the other one's gonna be spending it all in bond money. Um, he really, I had gotten divorced and we had started spending our visitation time together, and we really just started spending actual time. You know, I'd just go sit and play, you know, watch him play PlayStation. I think he just really wanted somebody to connect to. And I come from a military background, so I've always had kind of a um more of a, just do the right thing. You know, I'm one of those people that's
Mhm.
like, if you're just honest all the time, you never have to remember what you told somebody, right?
Right.
I mean, be honest and just say the same thing every time. And I think just being a influence on him, and I was not the best father. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so far from that, but I knew that time and repetition, just like creating a diamond, time and pressure will eventually mold him into the person I wanted him to be, or better than me. And so, you know, he started saving money. He never did that before. He had opportunities to go work other jobs, and he was like, well, you know what, I've got some time here, and I think that I would like to stay here and demonstrate that I'm loyal and I'm a hard worker. And I'm like, okay. Then he goes and on his own, blew my mind, on his own went out and bought a car after doing research and haggling and getting it. I mean, I'm looking at this kid like, what, whose kid are you? You know, I'm sure other parents
Hmm.
out there, like, I had one kid that just totally surprised me. But yeah, so he's 19 and change now, and he's doing great. And I hardly ever talk to him, but I'm here when he needs me. And otherwise, he's learned what he needed to learn, and he's starting on with his life. So
You know, so it's so interesting. The part of that question that is the, I guess, the secondary part is like, what's wrong with our society nowadays when kids want to be influencers or digital nomads instead of wanting to be astronauts or um, teachers and things like that?
you know, I've thought about that a lot. Being older like me, you understand, you know, being an astronaut when we were kids was, it was the glory, it was the excitement. My
Right.
father flew F-4 fighters in the military in the Air Force for over 20 years. So I grew up with a rock star. I mean, he comes in the flight suit, and I get to go out to where he does his thing, and I'm like, you get paid to do this? So I grew up with that kind of mentality. I actually wanted to be a fighter pilot, but my eyes weren't good enough, and that wasn't going to happen. Um, and I also wanted to join the Marine Corps, and my father was not going to let that happen. But that's a whole nother story, maybe for another podcast. But I always kind of had that disciplinary thing hanging over my head. And so I just tried to implement that into my son. And of course, me having gone in the military too, that was just
Right.
reinforced by that. And I'm like, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to tell you what to do. If you want to be a rock star, be a rock star. But you got to learn to play guitar first. You have to start at one. Eddie Van Halen at one point did not know how to play guitar. And I try to implement that into, Dad, you fix computers, you just know how to do this. I'm like, I've been doing this for 35 years. You think I was this smart when I started? I just time and repetition. And you can do, if you want to be an astronaut, then make it happen. Kids nowadays aren't, to them, being Mr. Beast has more glory attached to it than serving your country or flying into space or pulling someone's heart out and resuscitating it with your bare hands. I guess we come up with a different generation of parenting, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
that parents they haven't been as influential to their kids' dreams. And I mean, you know what? Going to law school. I mean, you could, for example, it's what, 4 years of regular school, 3 years of law school, plus whatever, or a doctor, 12 years to end up in debt for the next 30 years. Or you could be a really good looking kid and in 6 months on YouTube be making more than your parents.
Right.
That's the money, I think, is really, nobody wants to be a YouTuber because they want to be a YouTuber. They want to be a YouTuber or an influencer because they know there's money attached to it. And there's a lot of people I know that done it and make more than their parents. Back in the days, you work here, you work for a long time, you have a retirement, a pension, you have security for life. Kids don't care about that anymore. They don't think that far ahead.
So you kind of like blame, if that's even the right word to choose, it on the parents
Yeah.
more so than the society. I mean, or the educational system.
Well, I think the educational system, first of all, even when I was in school, they didn't teach you things that you needed to know. That there was never, it was. I learned all about the War of 1812. Where was the class on how to do taxes or how to create an LLC and run a business? The parents are to blame to a degree, but we've also now live in a world, unlike when we grew up, where now it's usually two parents working full time. Some of those parents are working two jobs. They are not able to spend the amount of, and if they come home from those jobs, they're exhausted, or the kid isn't there, the kid's off doing, hanging out with friends or whatever. So there's less time spent with the child. And when you have less time spent with the child, even if you have the energy to talk to the kid, what are you going to tell them? Work hard and be like me? Well,
Hmm.
work hard and be better than me. Well, to them, if you're working two jobs at the time, your child mindset tells you, I don't want to do that. I want to take this route or whatever. So, I wouldn't put everything on the parents. I wouldn't put everything on the education system. I wouldn't put everything on the kids, especially now in the world of social media. How does a teenager not realize the options that they have? When I was growing up, we didn't have that. We had three channels
Right.
on a TV, and we actually
Hmm.
picked up a telephone when we wanted to talk to somebody. There was no Facebook. There was none of that stuff. So your influence was directly driven from your parents talking to you, your friends talking, or your mentors. But there wasn't a lot of that. Nowadays, you can pick up your phone and in 5 seconds see 10 different career opportunities. So I don't know what's wrong. I think the kids today, their just attention span is so short that it
Right.
looks good until the next swipe.
Yeah. I think that is a major problem when you extrapolate as to how lives are going to be, because scientists have always said, at least in the last 30 years or so, that the people with the greatest social skills are the
Right.
ones who are going to succeed.
Right.
And it's just, we're living in an age now where people just hand their kid a tablet or a cell phone as the digital babysitter, and they
Right.
don't really have to be a part of the whole thing or the
Right.
process of bringing up and educating and nurturing that child.
Right. Right. And I think, and like I said, with a lot of parents, it's not that they don't want to. Every parent wants to be a better parent. I think some of them
Hmm.
just are, they just don't know how. They don't know how to connect with kids because kids are now connected to social media. And how are you going to relate to your child? They would rather sit there and just scroll on their phone than talk to you. There's obviously exceptions, but that's kind of the world we live in now. And
It's weird too because nowadays you can't just pick up the phone and call. It's like, can Scott come out and play? You
Mhm.
have to get Scott's permission by texting him first to say, "Can I
Right.
give you a
Oh,
call?" It's like it's
hey,
so
look,
weird now.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm so bad about that. With mostly with my friends. And to be fair, I'm usually sitting behind a camera recording something. So if they call, I've got them on mute. But I've got a lot of friends who are old school like me that they don't text. They pick up the phone and they call.
Right.
And they don't really understand the concept of I can't answer the phone because I'm filming, right? Um, but sometimes they will call and not text at all. And I'm like, look, or they'll leave me a voicemail. I'm like, I don't remember the last time I checked my voicemail. But I also have to remember I'm lucky enough to be born in the generation perfectly split between old school and new school. I'm old enough to remember the old Atari and the Coleco and the three
Uh-huh.
channels, and the remote control was me getting up and going to the TV and turning it for my dad. Um,
Right.
but I'm also young enough that because I started the business, which I knew social media was going to be part of it, and then the YouTube thing and Facebook, all that stuff. So I had to adapt to the new stuff because it's what I did for a living. I fixed computers for a living, so I have to be up with the times. But I'm old enough to remember those things, and I'm really blessed. But a lot of people that are just a few years older than me forget about it. And then the kids that
Right.
are a little bit younger than me, they're just wandering through life with no clue because they have no influence other than what they see on their phones.
It's funny. We've been chatting away here for an hour. And I don't think we've talked anything really too much about computers,
I
and I
brought
think eventually we'll get to that.
Sure, sure.
Let's talk about what I've been going through, ranting and raving to you about lately, was having our router moved in the house, and then my laptops
Right.
just stopped seeing any sort of a Wi-Fi signal. Now, I don't know if this is over the head of the people who are listening to this show, but that sounds like a really and seems like a very quirky thing, an unusual thing for that to have happened.
Coincidental.
You know, if one box went down, I'd buy the coincidental thing,
Right.
but two at the same time in the same moment, and that were manufactured years apart,
Right.
that both responded that way. Now, the good thing, if there is an upside to this story, is that the machine I'm working on now has a straight Ethernet connection getting between five
Yeah,
and
I
six
know. You
hundred
told me.
down.
Rubbing it in.
Yeah, no, I'm just feeling really good about that because it's hard to find anything else. But I want you to help me with that, and I know that we're not going to be able to discuss it on the
Right.
air. But this really kind of dovetails into the question of what do you think as the most common problems people are having these days, whether it's PCs or Macs or otherwise.
The vast majority of times, people are calling because their computers have just gotten slow. And with rare exception, the hardware and whatever sometimes starts failing. But the vast majority of time, it's user behavior. It's the things you do while you're on the computer, the things you click on. I don't want to call it ignorance because, you know, but it is. Ignorance used to be, if you were ignorant of something, it's just because you didn't know. I'm ignorant.
Exactly.
I'm ignorant of wine. I know what wine is, but I'm ignorant when it
And you
comes
love the
to
way it feels.
I got red and I got white, and pretty much, and
Right.
but once I have been educated, I'm no longer ignorant of that. So there's a lot of people that will go buy a computer at Walmart, whatever, they bring it home and they set it up and then they start using stuff and they start clicking on stuff and they don't know what they don't know. They don't know that that's bad, or they don't know that you don't need this program, or this is not the antivirus you should be using, and so they'll just click on stuff. And then, and over time, more and more crap gets on the computer. I explain to people like this when they say, how did this happen? I said, it's like if you were like when you go to the dentist, right? And the dentist can clean all the plaque off your teeth. Well, the plaque didn't get there in one day. The plaque got there from the food that you ate. Plaque builds up over time. It doesn't just boom pop up. It's the same thing with computers. Your computer, even if you don't use it correctly, it's not going to start acting stupid in 3 days. But
Uh-huh.
after you've had it for a year and you've done the same thing over and over again, you've clicked on stuff, you've not managed your computer, you've not, there's just a lot to learn about how to properly use a computer that isn't taught. If you know how to properly use a computer, or more importantly, what not to do, that's really the thing, is what should I not do? That's kind of what my YouTube channel is about. Let me guide you. Let me tell you what is bad, and let me tell you the things you should do so that you won't have problems going forward. But if you do, I also offer solutions on how to take care of those. Now, every now and then I come across an issue like yours with two laptops suddenly just not seeing Wi-Fi. I've been thinking about that one and I still don't have an answer, because that's, I gave you a couple solutions, but they weren't any. I knew it wasn't going to fix it. I honestly, I don't. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that later. We'll figure it out. But
Just so you know, while we've been doing the show here, Amazon just dropped off an Ethernet to USB adapter. So if you ever want to plug in,
nice, noted. Yeah, no. Most of, I mean, I see everything. You believe me, as there's some stuff I can't unsee, and I hate that. But I would say the vast majority of the problems are user caused. Now, what I do in my local business is I fix the problem. Obviously, I clean up the system, whatever. But then I consider myself a little bit of an educator, because even though it's taking money out of my pocket if they never call me back, a year later, I'd rather take the time and explain to them what they were doing wrong, or what they shouldn't be doing, or how they caused the problem, or here's something you can do to keep it from happening again. And so I lose money on that end, but I also end up doing okay, because then they end up telling 2 or 3 other people
oh
about
yeah,
me.
for reputation's purpose,
Yeah,
it works
100%.
very
And
well.
and I get the reputation as just being the guy who's just going to tell you straight. He's not going to lie to you. You got your modem problem, your wireless thing has got me remembering one of the reasons I like doing what I do is
I know I
because
can see you drooling. You need a bib, my brother.
a little bit. I got to wipe my shirt here. This is audio only, right? We're good.
Well, no, actually, I'm going to take a few video nuggets and pop them up onto
Okay.
YouTube,
I
and I'll
figured
probably
you
get the
might.
most
But yeah,
embarrassing ones.
but no, I actually, part of the thing that I like is those, because you get the same thing every day. It's kind of boring, but every now and then I come across one that I haven't seen before, and it's always a challenge. And like I said, I've been doing this for 30 some odd years, and people are like, oh my God, how do you just know how to do this? I'm like, well, if I was a doctor and I had spent 30 years practicing medicine, I could probably reach over here and set somebody's broken kneecap while I'm looking straight at you,
Right.
talking to you about stock market, without even
And
looking.
making a Greek salad with the other
Yeah.
arm.
And you're right, exactly. So I do enjoy that challenge. So when you told me about that particular issue, that immediately popped up as, that's odd. And I like odd. Odd's good. Odd keeps it interesting.
Well, that's why we get along so well, I think.
I think so. I think so. It's a free tech support. I think that's what you like. But no, to be fair, that we were talking about the 100,000 subscribers and the
Uh,
hundreds of comments every day. You think it's crazy locally coming across something I've never heard of? Well, that's every single day now.
yeah, yeah,
Somebody's
yeah.
coming at me with something that is just so abstract, and I'm like, that should not happen, should not be possible. And of course, now I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a little extra couple minutes and see if I can ask the right questions, or maybe send them to one of my videos, or point them to a website, or, just something. But when it stops being interesting, I'll stop doing it.
I was talking to Lynn the other day. I was telling her, I'm making more of an effort on social media just to get more friends or followers, whatever you want to call them,
Right.
subs, and
Right.
this and that. And so I made a big effort on Facebook, and all of a sudden, out of the woodwork, there are hundreds of beautiful young women in their 20s
That are in
paying
your
more
area.
paying more attention that are in your area, right? No, but paying more attention to me, like I'm some rock star, the
Right.
most advanced human on earth. They
Right.
want to know
Right.
all
Right.
about me, and do I know anything about cryptocurrency? And so I'm not even that attractive to Lynn. Never mind these strangers who are coming out of the woodwork. So what is going on with that? With people who are just, it's got to be a scam of some sort.
Oh, it's totally a scam. I mean, I get Facebook requests from some girl in Taipei who is named Kelly, and she is a,
Her English name.
right, and she's, she's friend requested me, and she's you look at her bio and she'll be like, lead manager of some forex trading or some kind of crypto thing or whatever, and she's single, of course, and her
And she's hot.
timeline, oh, she's gorgeous, and her timeline is about a week or two old, and
Right.
she wants to be my friend.
I look
You
at
know,
these faces. Look at these two faces, older than cash. Um,
right?
so yeah, I know it's just crazy, right?
Exactly. And I've gotten to the point now where it's like it's almost funny. It's almost humorous to me because I see all the friend requests. I hate the word, but I realize now that with this amount of subs I have or whatever, I'm technically an influencer now.
Yeah.
And there two people in my little local town of 35,000 people that I've run into have watched my videos. When I talked about YouTube and I was like, well, here's the name. They're like, oh my God, yeah, you're the one with the little counter in the back and the thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Um, but it also exposes you. That's what I was getting at. Is it exposes you to even bigger scams. Now,
Hmm.
thankfully, I'd like to think that I'm smart enough to not fall for that stuff, and I don't. But if I were a Mr. Beast style influencer, that it's just in entertainment or whatever, I can't even imagine how bad that would be. So, but yeah, that happens too, where people are like, well, I'm lonely. I clicked on her, friend, and next thing you know, she wanted me to sign up for this, and I'm like, oh my God, did you really? Just please tell me you didn't do that.
It's hilarious to see the guys who are doing, and it's a very popular topic now on YouTube, the anti-scammers, where they
Right.
talk about, all the various different scams that are going on and the scam
Right.
houses that are in India or whatever.
Oh yeah.
When these guys themselves actually get taken for a ride and they kind of document it and put it on
Mhm.
YouTube.
Yeah, one of there's a channel that I used to watch on YouTube. He would try to scam the scammers. And
Right.
I mean, even setting up like hacking into the computer to a degree where he could like activate their cameras and he could see,
Right.
and or the favorite my favorite part was where he would intercept somebody, like sent off $3,000 cash to one of these scammers, and he would show up at the pickup and police involved or whatever, and and explain to the people who got scammed, hey, you got scammed, buddy, whatever. And I liked that because the scamming is so bad now.
Yeah.
It's I mean, phishing emails. I there's been plenty of times I've almost, and another thing is, as a YouTube creator, sponsors, brands, they reach out, they want to work with you, and they want to send you informational packets. And if you're not careful, there's a influencer named Linus from Linus Tech Tips, 15 plus million subscribers. And a few months ago, he actually got hacked because somebody on his team fell prey to this little security thing. But
Yeah.
basically, he didn't know that this could happen. And as soon as he clicked on his guy looking up brand deals and stuff, as soon as this guy clicked on this, is activated a thing where it sent his login session to this other computer, and now this other person could log in, and that's what did. He logged into Linus's YouTube page and changed everything, deleted the video. It was a nightmare. Um,
Wow.
and so if somebody who's as tech savvy as Linus with 15 million subscribers can fall for it,
Hmm.
your average mom and pop in town, what chance do they have? And again, that's why I am able to do what I do, because those things exist.
Yeah. I mean, clicking on something that malicious code or whatever has got to be an impossibility to teach the masses, because what are you going to
Right.
say? Just don't respond to anybody about anything
Right.
anytime, because even an innocent can send something that is preloaded with
Right.
malicious code in it,
100%.
right?
I will tell you one thing that your listeners, if they take nothing away from this conversation, a little nugget for them. One thing that I see a lot. Okay, you have a friend named Susan. You love Susan. You trust Susan. She's in your contacts, right? Well, suddenly one day you get a link from Susan, and it could be somebody who sends you funny stuff. We all have people who send us funny stuff, especially around politics and things like that. They always
Hmm.
send you funny stuff. Well, Susan sends you stuff all the time. So you get a link from Susan you're used to clicking on, and okay, well, Susan sent me a thing, and I click on it because I don't even think about it. But
Yeah.
what you don't realize is that Susan's computer is infected with malware or a virus that replicates through her contact list and sends people in her contact list a link, they trusting that you trust Susan. Always be aware that somebody sending you a link could potentially not be the person that's actually in your contact list. And if you're not sure, don't click on it. Reach out to that person and say, hey, did you mean to send me this? Because this is not the normal kind of thing that you send. If you click on it, God only knows what can happen. So a little bit of, and that happens a lot. I see that so much. So I hope
Hmm.
listeners are listening to that. Just because it says Susan, it comes from Susan. Susan may not have had nothing to do with it.
So, okay, that said, and everyone has experienced that or heard that story, is there an intermediate piece of software that's affordable or even open source or free that we can pop on our boxes in case we do click on something that is, out for bad
Well,
circumstances?
there's certain reasons I can't mention any specific brands right now. What I will tell you is if you have a Windows 10 or Windows 11 computer, it's going to come built in with Windows Defender or
Hmm.
Microsoft Defender. The free antivirus that comes with your Windows. If you go buy a new computer off the shelf, it's going to come with either Norton or McAfee antivirus. That's just because the only reason it's on there is because that company outbid the other one to end up on a brand new Dell or a brand new Toshiba. It doesn't mean that it's better than the other brand. A lot of phone companies, a lot of cable companies will provide you complimentary internet or complimentary antivirus. What I will tell you is that if you do some research, get on YouTube and search for best antivirus program. My one of my buddies, another
Hmm.
YouTuber, he's a malware security expert, and he's done several videos about. Matter of fact, he just did one a few weeks ago, comparing like the top 15, 20 antivirus programs. There are programs out there that are free, like Windows Defender. There are other actual programs that are free that, for a person who doesn't click around a lot, are probably plenty for you. Just because it came on your computer or the cable company gave it to you doesn't make it better. So
Right.
I would
Well,
say,
oftentimes those are kind of like free temporary rides to get you to
oh,
become a
it's exactly
subscriber
that.
down the
Yeah,
line,
it's
right?
exactly that. They'll give you a 30 or 90-day trial,
Hmm.
and you're used to it. And once they have your, you get it, you got to put a credit card in, but you think, well, it came with my computer, so it's got to be what I need, and that's not always true. It's
Right.
what somebody negotiated in a boardroom somewhere. Okay, so if, for example, you have let's just say you have Norton antivirus, and I'm not picking on Norton, but say you have Norton antivirus on your computer, your 90-day trial runs up, and it says, hey, if you want to continue being protected, you have to pay for it. Well,
Right.
I mean, trial software has been around since the dawn of time. There's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't mean that it's what the best one. It also goes back to user behavior, and I don't want to get too in depth of what I do. I mean, anybody
Uh-huh.
who has questions, they can find me on YouTube, and we can talk all day outside the podcast. But because I will end up talking all day about computers, but these companies spend millions and millions of dollars to be the one that you see. Now, once they have your credit card information and you are the typical novice computer user that looks at your computer and doesn't know any different, you're ignorant of the facts, ignorant of different antivirus programs. You're just going to say, well, everything's working. I don't have any problems. This program must be doing its job. Now, again, if you're the type of person who hardly ever does anything, then why do you really need that? I mean, you don't click on email links, you don't go surfing around websites, you don't go to Google and then click on the first medicine link you see. You don't do all these potentially dangerous things. You just maybe get on Facebook, maybe you watch YouTube on, I mean, basic stuff that's going to keep you out of trouble. So why do you need to pay for a professional antivirus program when the one that comes with Windows is going to work just fine?
Hmm.
So this is part of what I do, is educating these people. I'm like, don't spend money you don't have to. If it costs money and it's worth it, I'll tell you, but don't spend money just because you don't know any different.
Yeah, yeah. I think you explained the process and of course the natural demographic of
Right,
people who are just regular users and what they're doing,
right,
what they're not doing.
right.
How do you where do you stand on VPN usage? Do you think that that helps people stay protected?
VPN is always a good idea, um, unless you don't have anything on your computer that you care about. If you literally just log into Facebook or social media on your computer, why are you worried about somebody trying to hack you?
Hmm.
You don't Hackers generally only want one of two things. They want money or information. That's pretty much it. They don't hack for fun. Now some do, but information and money is where it boils down to. And usually information leads to money. So if they can get information out of you and then try to sucker you into clicking a link or something, that might be possible. VPN it stands for virtual private network. Okay. For anybody who's listening who doesn't know, what that basically does is when you connect to your cable provider and you go to a website, anybody along that path can see your public address and know what city you're in, what cable provider you're using, all of those things. And if somebody were so inclined, they could theoretically try to hack into you through that public address that is visible, because you're basically surfing naked. That's just
Hmm.
always the way I've described it. You're just
Which
surfing
actually
naked.
sounds like fun.
Hey, right. Well, depends on what happens with the board and the sharks. But yeah, um, when you connect to a VPN, you create an intermediate secure connection between you and your cable provider, so that when your signal goes to the cable provider, it goes out to the internet, someone sees your IP address, you could be in Texas or Bulgaria or Germany or wherever, and your cable company can't even see your IP address. Now, naturally, that can be used for some nefarious things, which we won't get into here. But if you are concerned about protecting your online privacy, spending a couple dollars a month on a VPN, probably not a bad idea.
So would you
Uh,
run that 24/7 all the time
yes.
when you're online if
Well,
you have a
as long as your
VPN?
computer's on. If you are actively on the web, a VPN can never hurt you.
Right.
Okay. Now, that being said, for anybody who goes, I'm going to go looking for a VPN right now, right? The very first thing, the only thing you should be looking at first and foremost when choosing a VPN, forget about the cost, because they're all roughly about the same, usually $3 to $5 a month. The most important thing is what's called no logs. You want your VPN provider to not keep logs of your traffic, because if for some reason there was a subpoena involved or whatever, for whatever reason,
Like my
piracy or
nefarious behavior.
yes, those
Okay.
nefarious people we talked about. If
Uh-huh.
somehow your VPN provider got subpoenaed to turn over, and we all know nowadays these big companies, they're gonna just belly up and go, sure, nope, have all my users' data, just don't throw us in jail, right? They will
Right.
gladly throw you under the bus. Well, if you have a VPN provider with a no logs policy, that means that they don't record anything, which means there's nothing to turn over to the authorities. If your VPN that you're looking at does not specifically say no logs policy, keep looking. I'm actually going to be doing some reviews on my channel. I use one specifically. Like I said, I don't want to mention any specific names. I don't want to skew anybody, but no logs is absolutely critical. Absolutely.
Is the reason that you don't want to mention brand names is because of your place on YouTube or arrangements or deals? I don't need to know names, but I'm just wondering why
Yes,
you've made
all of,
mention of
all of
that.
the above. Everybody's needs are different. For example, the antivirus that I use works for me, works for
Hmm.
my local clients. If I tell anybody on YouTube that I use that particular antivirus, then I get, oh, that's the worst antivirus ever. You have no credibility with me. Okay. I let
Right.
people make up their own minds or ask me which one should I use. And then I will immediately say, okay, what do you do? Tell
Hmm.
me what you
Hmm.
need, and what some people, Windows, like I told you before, some people, Windows Defender is all you need. If all you want to do is occasionally go to a Zoom meeting or get on Facebook, you don't need to pay for an antivirus. Your Windows Defender will work pretty darn well. If you are somebody like me who gets a client's hard drive and I have to get the data off of it and I have to connect it to my network, transfer it across my network, where now whatever that person has done could potentially infect me, now I may need extra protection. Some people need the most ridiculous bulletproof protection ever because they are doing nefarious things. So
Hmm.
it's always a case by case basis. So I don't want to be the guy who says use this antivirus or use this whatever. Now, if a brand wants to come to me and say we'd like you to make a video about our product, okay, well, first of all, give me a license, let me check it out, let me use your product
Hmm.
side by side with mine. And if your product finds things that mine doesn't, guess what? Now we have a video we can talk about. I can say I've talked about this antivirus program for the vast majority of people, works fine. But guess what? I was wrong. And today's sponsor is actually I'm going to show you right now. Now,
Uh-huh.
it's not for me, it's not about the money. It's not about brands and sponsors. I just don't want to limit, like if we were talking you and me privately, I would tell you what I use, and I would
Yeah.
tell you why I use it. But I don't want your audience to just automatically take what I say as gospel, because if ever nobody in your audience is exactly the same, you
Hmm.
know. So why would I promote one specific program that may not work for everybody?
I think that's an ethical way to approach it. It's just like when people come to me and they want help in a certain area, I always ask what their goals are
Right.
so I can then frame my response to that. So it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, my whole purpose of having Ask Your Computer Guy is exactly that. It's what works for Joe is not going to work for Susan. I may give them the same answer because their needs are similar. I may give them two completely different answers because their needs are completely different. So it's all case by case basis. I don't necessarily think what I can tell you is having antivirus protection is better than not having antivirus protection.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
think having a VPN is better than not having a VPN. Now, like I said, do your homework, get on YouTube, go to the people that you trust who are going to give you facts and pros and cons. People give you pros all day if brands pay for you to make videos. And I don't do that. I've done several videos for several different products, and at the end of all of them, I'm like, okay, here's the pros, but here's the cons.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's a free product for sure, but there are some things that may not appeal to you, and here's what you need to know. I'm not going to just tell you, this is the greatest thing ever, buy it, buy it, buy it. I'm not about that. I'd rather, it's back to the integrity thing. If you can't, once you lose integrity, you got nothing. So I just try to be as honest and forthright and make every answer that to questions like you gave me applicable to the person asking. But
Good,
right now
good.
you represent a lot of people asking, so I'm going to just leave it at that.
Right, I can see that. Your counter that we talked about earlier, how is
Yeah.
it hooked up to YouTube and
Okay.
its channel?
So, oh, now we're getting real technical here. It's just a web page.
Uh-huh.
We have YouTubers have what we call, you see the YouTube face, the outer
Hmm.
face. We have what's called a YouTube studio, and that's basically we can go look at our numbers, or which videos are doing what. Well, one of the pages is active subscriber count, and there's an option on there to see a live subscriber count. And all I did was I pulled up that web page, and because it's on a tablet, I just pinched and zoomed so that you don't see the page. All you see is the number.
That's
That's it.
cool. That is
Nothing
really
fancy.
cool.
Yeah.
Where was the last place you guys traveled?
We just got back from a cruise to Bimini and Nassau, Bahamas for my
Ooh,
birthday back in January. It's my wife's very first cruise. It was my third or fourth, I think.
wow. And you
Maybe
guys
third.
escaped without any communicable diseases or foodborne
Oh
illness?
yeah, yeah. Well, I've cruised. What I do, I'm not big on doing all the excursions and stuff. I'm more about just I want to. I always call it a 6 day Uber ride. I just
Mm,
want to eat, drink, not care, and just let somebody else do the driving. Just relax, get some sun, and just take a break, unplug from everything, no internet, nothing.
right. There's so many
Turn.
different kinds of travelers out there. I'm
Yeah,
completely the opposite of that. It's like, uh, my life is plenty mellow.
yeah.
And so when I travel, I want to get down on the ground. I want to like drink and fold and bend and have
Right.
a good time
Well,
with the local cultures.
it's funny because once we got back from the Bahamas, which we generally like, anytime you cruise into a port, you're always going to have I always call it the cruise controlled port, because like if you go to Cozumel, as soon as you get off the boat, you're like, oh, I'm in Cozumel. No, you're not. You're in the Carnival shopping area. You have to
Right.
go past that to get to the island where you can rent a Jeep and accidentally possibly run over a Mexican child, which almost happened to me, but another story.
Get
Um,
insurance, friends, if you're traveling.
well, no, they'll just jump out in front of your car because it's so poor there
Yeah.
that they know if you're a traveler, you're an Americano, you're going to have cash, and they would rather if you give them $100 to not go tell their daddy. But
Right.
they're the one that ran out in front of the Jeep. Yeah, so I learned that real quick. But every cruise port is like that. They're going to have, well, the ones that I've been on, they always have like the shopping area right off the term
Oh,
the dock,
yeah.
and then you can go do excursions and stuff. But I'm like, I don't. I mean, some rare occasion I might want to do that, but like when we went to Nassau, the shopping area just off the boat had restaurants, bars, Wi-Fi. and it was all enclosed. And I was like, why would I need to go anywhere else? This is, I mean, if I wanted to go to the beach, sure. But you know what? I can always go to the Gulf. And if I want to go to the beach or whatever, I don't need
Uh,
to be sitting on the beach in Nassau. It was really more just about taking my wife on something she has wanted to do her whole life. And so it was really special for me to be able to make that happen for her. And thankfully she loved it. She was really, I actually thought of starting a YouTube channel calling Lido Deck Lazy,
uh,
because on a cruise ship, if you want to know where I'm at, I'm wearing my creator shirt and I'm laying on the Lido deck with I'm working towards my 15th drink. That's me.
15th drink, working on your tan, and boy, do we need tans.
Oh, good Lord, I'm so pasty. It's so horrible. Um, but yeah, I'm working on that. The
So
lighting doesn't help.
all you guys, all you creators, all you content creators, I'm not going to put myself in that category quite yet.
But
Um,
you're a
but
content creator. You're creating content as we speak.
as we speak, so how much of a grind is it? And how much of that grind, if it is one, gets to you so much that in some ways you feel paralyzed to be able to do other things in your life?
Interesting. Gosh, you got some good questions. Are we going to do the 20 questions later too? Just curious.
You never know.
Okay, cool. I'm up for it.
This
I've
is
been
very off the cuff stuff. We may talk for 4 hours, and I
I'm
might
fine with
try
that.
to edit it down.
Yeah, good thing you got a good editor, because I wouldn't want to do it. And
He's
that
not such a good editor.
right, so that segues right back into the answer to your question. It was a lot easier a year ago, 2 years ago, being an influencer, which just hard to swallow that word, but um, it's probably the hardest job I've ever had, hands down. But it's also the most gratifying job that I've ever had. Now, here's why it's hard. Okay. And you can relate to this, but your audience may not. But we'll just as an example, if you go work 9 to 5 and you are a cable installer, okay, you go and install your cable from 9 to 5. You get paid a certain amount of money. You come home and at 5:01, it's your time, right? You don't have to deal with anybody until 9 o'clock the next morning. An influencer has to be a creative person that comes up with ideas. I have to think of things to talk about. Then I also have to be a videographer. I have to know how to work a camera and I how to talk to a camera. I have to be um, a socialite enough to be able to talk to that little box that I'm doing right
Right,
now
right.
as if it's Matt on the other side of it.
Hmm.
Not you. I can see you next to the box, but when I'm making a video, it's just me in this little tiny box, and I'm
Right.
talking to you as if it's you and me in the same room. So you have to learn those social skills. That's the easy part. Then once the video's done, you have to be able to edit those videos. You have to figure out whether you leave in those ums and ahs, or you make it a long video or short video. You have to go back and refilm things where you found you're accidentally scratched your nose and it looked like you were digging. Okay, I got to
Hmm.
refilm that. Okay. And then when that's all said and done, then you have to package it, and then you have to upload it. Then you have to come up with a thumbnail that matches that video. You have to put all the description in that video so that when someone reads the description and the title, that it intrigues them to click. And then if you did all that and you've uploaded, then you have to start dealing with all the flack and the feedback and the comments of things you did not do correctly in the video. I'll give you an example. One of the videos that I made a while back, I was a little punchy when I was editing it. And a lot of what I do is I show you on my screen through the video screen capture how I'm doing XYZ, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was a little punchy in the editing, and in the video, I said, and I specifically said, you need to check this box and click next. Well, in the video process, I left that part. It was the part where I unchecked that box and before I rechecked it to show you, and I cut out the wrong part. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, people will just, well, you said this, but you did this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I had to go back and watch it. I'm like, oh gosh, well, go with what I said, not what I show you. But I might have had a couple tequila shots when I was editing. I'm not 100%, but I'm telling you now, unchecked. But you have to deal with that. And then on top of that, you have to try to get exposure for the content, just like with 50 takes, right?
Hmm.
You have to tell people that you exist. If you don't, you can't trust some magic algorithm to find you, but you have to tell people about yourself so that they start following you, so that the algorithm then says, hey, this looks kind of interesting. But that's, so you have to be a marketer, you have to be a
Yeah.
promoter, and then on top
Right.
of all of that, the influencer, where you have to now comment and reply to people. So now you're more of a I don't even know what they call those people, but basically the people that just sit there and reply to comments all day. That's a
Oh,
thing, right? And then on
right.
top of that, you have emails that you have to deal with, you have brands, you have sponsors who want to work with you, and then you have to figure out, are they going to offer me enough money, and is their product good enough for me to dare show my audience? Because I've got 100,000 people here that trust me to give them good advice. Now, if I were to just be like one of those people that's all about the money, I make 5 times what I make, because I get
Right.
offers every day. Hey, we're
Hmm.
going to give you this fancy pants $3,000 whatchamajiggle. And I'm like, but my audience is not going to care about that. They don't care about camping supplies. They don't care about energy drinks. They don't care about LED garden gnomes. They care about tech and computers. So I generally only work with those people that are, from, because my audience is that's why I'm here, because those people trust me, and I'm not a sellout, right? There are some times where I might get a little bit away from that, but it's like, if like if it's coffee, for example, because I drink coffee all the time, and I'm like, you know what? If a specific brand wants me to talk about their coffee while I'm making a video, and you see me drinking my coffee, you're like, by the way, guys, this is a really good coffee. You got to do all of that, and then turn around and do it all again
Right.
every single day for the rest of your life. I thankfully have an amazing wife who has said, look, Monday through Friday, whatever time you wake up to whatever time we go to bed, or whatever time she gets home from work, basically, it's your channel, your jam, your thing, whatever. Saturdays and Sundays is our time. And so I purposefully
Hmm.
don't work on income producing activities like YouTube or computer business, whatever, on the weekends. I have to have that time. Now, the irony is on the weekends is usually when I get the best ideas and I'm most creative. And I'm like, oh, God, I can't wait till Monday so I can get started
But you're
again.
in your decompress mode on
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sundays, which is probably very, very healthy for all
Yeah.
the creative
Well, and
processes.
I think having a supportive partner is a huge benefit, because she understands what I do and how I do. She sat here and watched me, and she's like, I can't, I couldn't. And she's like, you do it every day, and it's just, but it's kind of natural to me now. But there's no, when you're an influencer or even just a regular creator, there's no time off. You are constantly thinking about the next video. You're thinking about the next guest. You're thinking about the next restaurant that you can try and talk about. There's, in me, it's, I'm always looking for the next tech thing, or what's the big thing in tech right now that is there any trends or something going on that I need to know about? So it never stops, but you can force it to stop to keep your sanity. And thankfully, I like my wife a lot more than I like my YouTube channel.
That
So
dovetails back to the beginning of the previous question I asked about.
kind of cool how I did that, right? You caught
It
that?
was very good. We're,
Thank you.
we're
Thank
going
you
to
very much.
talk more about the wifey in a little while.
Okay,
But
fair enough.
uh, do you keep yourself on a regiment that you are going to release X number of pieces per week or month, or how does that work? And will you not go out of town? Will you not go to the bar and have your excessive amount of tequila because you have work to do? How tied to this are you, and
Okay,
how
so
much
first of
free
all, it's
time can you
only
take?
it's only excessive tequila if I say or do something stupid. Otherwise, I completely in control. It's a great question, actually. The way that I and others that are on the platform, the YouTube platform specifically, do it, if you have, let's just say we went on the Bahamas trip for 8 days, 7 nights. Okay. Well, I know I generally try to put out one piece of content on YouTube around once a week, every 7 to 10 days. Uh, and that's really just because that's kind of what my audience has come to expect. You don't want people to forget you exist. Um, so yeah, 7 to 10 days is generally what I try to do. So literally from the time that I finished uploading one video, I've already made 2 or 3 others that I'm editing, and maybe this one just needs a thumbnail, or maybe this one got the thumbnail but it needs an edit, or could be a brand. For example, I've got a video that they're like, we want to put our ad in a video related to our product. So I have to pick one of the videos I've already kind of pre-made and figure out what one would be perfect for that ad spot, and then pour everything into that and do all of the things I just listed, all those different hats that I got to wear by the next week. Now, when it comes to like vacation, if I know, for example, I'm going to be gone for, let's just say 10 days, like we were, I know that I could release a video right about the time we leave, and I can have another one release roughly about the time we get home. And thankfully, YouTube lets you schedule those. So you can
Perfect.
upload it and it's ready to go. And you just say, on this date at this time, go public.
It's
So
in the can, so to
it's
speak.
in can, right? So literally,
Okay.
when we're sailing back from Bahamas, one of my videos went live and I was out in the middle of the Gulf. It's kind of nice. A day later, I'm like, hey, my video that I forgot I scheduled is doing pretty good. So you can buy your time back because you don't have to do that grind. If you can make enough content to have in the can, I've got
Right.
them. And ideally, I'd love to have 8 to 12 videos ready to go at a moment's notice. That way, if I want to just take a month off and breathe, or my wife maybe wanted to just go take a 2 week vacation or whatever, no big deal. I've got these videos. I could schedule this one, this one, this one, and boom, it's done. So you can, I mean, you can. I'm not always good at that. Um, I try to be, but I'm also a Capricorn, so I'm kind of a perfectionist. And with
You
the
believe in perfection.
well, I believe that it's unattainable,
Okay.
uh, but it doesn't stop me from trying.
Okay.
And I will edit a video, and then I will save it, and then I will go watch it. And I'll sit back with my coffee or my tequila, and I'll watch it, and I'm like, yeah, I can get rid of that part because nobody's going to care, or that
Uh-huh.
really sucked, or I really need to And I do that, and I watch every video that I upload. I probably watch no less than 5 or 6 times, and then I run it past my wife. And
Hmm.
if she says, "Hey, that's not bad," there you go. Now I
So
got something
she's
I
your
can release.
stamp of approval, so to speak.
Well, she's like I said, she's a YouTube viewer, but she's not a YouTube junkie. She's like me.
Right.
Most times she goes to YouTube to find an answer for a specific thing, but she doesn't sit and watch YouTube. Now her biggest problem is she's got this thing about my eyes, and she's told me I can't focus on what you're talking about because I keep staring at your eyes. And I'm like, well, just look down. I mean, good God, why is it so difficult? Just listen or close your eyes and just listen.
Oh, okay. I'm confused. She gets thrown off by looking at your eyes,
Yes.
or you get thrown off by looking at hers.
Well, she's got stunning eyes, but I generally just watch, like, one eye is watching the video and the other eye is kind of watching her reaction. If
I see.
she starts picking up her phone and sending text messages, I'm like, okay, yeah, this video sucks. She
So, are you able to multitask? Can you do two things at once? Because they say that men really can't do that.
Yeah, well, who says that? Women? They're
That-
probably right.
Probably the
Um,
women scientists. You're right.
they're probably right. We actually just had a conversation about this the other day about whether people actually truly can multitask, because I don't think, I think you can have a bunch of things going on at the same time, but I think you generally can only focus 100% on one thing at one time. I may have 8 things on the board that I'm in progress, but just because I'm maybe spending 20 minutes doing one part today, and 20 minutes a little bit later, I'm not multitasking. I'm just doing bits and pieces of all these different things. And at the end of the day, I'll have made tiny progress. I don't think I could work on a spreadsheet over here and edit a video over here at the
Right.
same time. That's almost seems physically impossible.
It
Uh,
does. However, though, uh, more recent science, there are neurologists and scientists who are saying that the connective tissue, let's say, so to speak,
right.
works much better in the feminine part of our world than the male part of our world, that they're able to
You
do
may
that
tell you a
more
little
easily.
secret.
Yeah.
Everything works better in the feminine side of the world, whether it's
Uh-huh.
their brains, what they tell you, their eyesight, their judgment, their hearing. You just accept the fact that we're going to be taken over by women at some point in the planet.
Oh,
I mean, it's
well,
just going to happen. And if you're
tell me
not
about
sure,
it.
ask your wife, because she'll
Yeah.
tell you.
So you work clean on your show because of the kind of, but do you work clean on other guys' shows?
Define clean.
Well, do you let it all
I did
hang
shower.
out when you're guests on other people's programs?
I generally try to just be myself. It depends on the host. It's a reactionary thing. Like, for
Hmm.
example, I've watched all your stuff, and I know there's an occasional wordy dirt that pops out. So I
Oh,
know that,
like F bombs and
or,
and the
well,
like.
or you know,
Yeah.
it's a couple other ones, but I know. So I know it's
Would
it's.
you like to say a couple of the words that?
I really don't, because
Okay.
that'll end up in the YouTube short
You are
somewhere.
answering my question right
Um,
now.
what I can tell you is that I
Uh-huh.
think that you can still be yourself and be a quality creator and put good stuff out there without having to resort to foul language.
Language.
Now,
Okay.
but on my channel, I want anybody to be able to watch my channel and not be like, oh, well, I can't listen to him because he curses or whatever.
That's
I just try to not curse if I can avoid it.
the a little while ago, we'll get away from the whole how you work blue or otherwise. A little while ago, you had mentioned a couple of your destinations that you travel to. Now, both of them sounded like warm weather
It's
destinations. Is that your typical go-to?
anywhere that's warmer than here. Yeah.
And so
Um,
when you travel, it's usually in the cooler months?
Yeah, that's probably true now that I think about it. It just so happened we went to, like I said, we went to the Bahamas in January for my birthday. But we took a vacation last year to Tahoe, and because she had never been there before, I had never been there before, and it was cold, cold. I was like, this is, I mean, I'm enjoying being here. It's beautiful weather, but it's so cold. I can't wait to get back home where it's only kind of cold.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I mean, it's about the experience. I generally just try to go to places that are nicer than where I'm at the particular time.
I have a friend who loves to cruise. It's the only way they travel.
Yeah,
And for years, I mean, decades, they've been saying,
right,
Matt, you got to go on a cruise. You can eat 24
right.
hours a day. And, I tell them, I can eat 24 hours a day here, right
Yeah,
here. I don't have
right.
to
Yeah,
go.
I actually,
You,
I watched that one.
yeah.
I was just thinking about that because my wife, she was out there listening to me while I was watching it, and she just kind of rolled her eyes when he's like, no, cruise," and I'm like, "I don't cruise." I'm like, "What's wrong with you people?" But yeah, but you're right. You can theoretically drink, but you can't eat 24 hours a day for free. So there's that.
How much
And
does it cost to eat for free, Scott?
oh yeah, I mean, well, if you factor in the cost of the, yeah, I mean, it's like when you get here. Funny story, because when we went to Tahoe, I ended up getting a really good deal from our casino, and I flew the two of us out there for like $98 and 5 days and airfare for $98. She's like, I can't believe we went for $98. I'm like, honey, it took way more than that in the slot machines for us to get that $98 deal. So I 100% with you there. Yeah, you're going to pay for the cruise, and the food is included.
When I
But
was running Hawaii food tours, a large percentage of our guests were people coming out of the cruise ships. So
mhm,
we'd have to go down to the port, pick them up, and take them out for a real day. And
right,
many of them I found throughout the years had the complaint that something about the alcohol
yeah,
costs big time money and they don't let you bring stuff on.
right.
And so we came up with a little life hack, which I'm sure you're aware of, is to get the 2 liter bottle of Coke and dump it and then pour your bourbon into that and then put that in your suitcase and walk on that way.
Actually works better with a bottle of dark wine.
Oh, okay. Tell us why.
And okay, so I'm gonna try to hope nobody watching your channels works for the cruise lines, but you can like say for example, if you were hypothetically a tequila fan and you hypothetically preferred the reposado, which is an aged colored
It's a
tequila,
little
not clear.
golden.
Yeah, it's got a little
Uh-huh.
little tinge of gold to it,
Hmm.
as opposed to a blanco clear, right? So say you really liked tequila reposado, and you hypothetically had a $3 or $4 Aldi bottle of wine.
Oh, the winking owl.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
Which, by the way, is actually a really good wine. I actually
It's
like
not
that.
so bad, but at that price point, come on.
And you also hypothetically found a bottle corking kit on Amazon where you can put a plastic thing and just heat gun it, and it's retains its seal unless you happen to run into somebody who goes, winking owl is not this color, and hence the dark bottle, because red wine doesn't look red in the bottle. It's just the bottle's red.
Right.
So, and you can, if you wanted to go through all that, theoretically, you could do that. Now,
I thought that they just took all alcohol out of
two bottles,
baggage.
2 bottles per person, or per
That's
couple. But 1 bottle per person, you can take. So if there's 2 of you, you could each take a bottle.
that still might not be enough. That's why I always told them
Well,
that we go with the 2 liter of soda.
I mean, if you went 2 bottles of wine, that might not be enough for a week-long cruise, but two
Uh-huh.
bottles of 2/5 of tequila would probably cover me.
I guess so.
Well, plus the
Um,
drink, I get the drink package too.
oh,
So I
okay,
have
right.
up to 15 drinks a day. And I'm like, if I can't imagine needing more than that, if I could just go to the bar, why risk it? But
I hear you. I totally hear you. Before that, you had mentioned coffee a couple of times. Don't tell me the brand that you drink, but what kind of coffee? How do you make it? What's your favorite type style?
I like a medium to medium dark roast. Honestly, some of the best coffee I've had is like our local grocery store generic coffee, like the
Hmm.
96 count box. I think Walmart has one. The typical Walmart brand.
Okay,
We
you
won't
do the
mention that
pods
brand.
then. That's
Yeah,
the
the little
method
K
is what I was
cups.
asking about.
Well, I have the whatever the thing is that it does both the carafe and the but I get the same either Aldi brand or the Kroger brand, which is our local grocery store here. I'm sorry, the Walmart brand or the Aldi brand.
Hmm.
Uh, whatever their dark roast is, I use the can for the carafe that I just have made every morning, and then usually when it depends on how much my wife is here. If she's not here drinking a lot of coffee, that's usually good. If she's on a weekend, I'm usually having to go hit the K cup because I'm not done.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I'll just throw, like, sometimes I'll try a Dunkin' Donuts, or a friend of mine gave me a box that his wife didn't care for, and I thought it was like Green Mountain or something. I think it was pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's a few that I've had that I'm like, I don't care for the frou stuff, and my wife loves that stuff. If
Uh-huh.
it's like cinnamon mocha caramel
Oh
macchiato
yeah. No
cherry
cute coffee.
mince pumpkin flavor, no, forget about it. Forget it. Like, you try sweet cinnamon. Have a good luck. Have a good time. Those will last all year because I'm not going to drink them, but
For
she
most
will.
of my life, I drank typical American drip coffee,
Yeah,
and because I've traveled so much to Europe, I never really could get the feel for espresso and so on.
yeah,
But come 2019, right before the COVID shit show,
right.
we got an
Using the
espresso
dirty
maker
word.
because
Okay,
they're, oh, sorry. Um, we got an espresso maker because we had friends coming in from the
right,
Netherlands who were going to stay with us in
right.
2019 over the holidays.
And you want
And
to
we
accommodate their tastes, right? Sure,
exactly because yeah, if you have to take them out for espresso, they will break the bank.
right.
So we picked it up, and ever since that day, we've never had another drop of coffee made in any other method. We fell in love with it right away. Maybe not, but then now, what are we, 4 years away or down the line from then?
Yeah,
That is the only way we drink coffee. You don't appreciate the McDonald's coffee or the drip
right,
coffee from
right,
any other place. And so it just
right.
happens, your taste can change like that.
Well, it's a funny story, actually. I told you I'm full of stories. My regular coffee maker, which is a carafe and a K cup, it's a brew station, I think.
Hmm.
Well, the K cup just decided not to work anymore. By the way, if Hamilton Beach is listening, I could use another one. But she
Please, no,
bought
no brand name, Scott.
no. Well, I mean, they're not going to sponsor my channel, so if they just happen, I don't want to give them bad publicity. I love the Hamilton Beach when it works. But she went and bought when the K cup stopped working. She went and just bought another little K cup thing because she just does what she wants, and I don't argue with her. But hers has the little, and I don't, it's not my jam, but it's got the little frothy thing. Maybe that's what you're talking about, where it like mixes the milk and it does all the things, and then you put, I don't know what all it does.
Oh, you
But
mean the steam wand to
yeah,
froth up the
right.
milk?
That
Okay,
thing. Yeah,
yeah.
she loves that thing, and I just don't have the patience. It's like a lot of work for a cup of coffee.
Ah, okay.
But she loves it, and
And
so
who are you to say no?
if she wants it, it's her money. You do you, boo. Go
That's her
go
jam.
buy your little. because I was gonna go buy another one with a working K cup, um, but we just didn't have the patience for that. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, she likes those the fruit coffees. That's what got me thinking about all the little cinnamon maple angel cookie flavor. I'm like, bleh, no, not my jam. Just give me
Let's,
coffee. By the way,
yeah.
thank you so much. I don't know if you noticed, you see my channel, but I actually love that logo that you create. I actually made that my avatar on my channel now. I love
I
that.
did see that. That was very cool. But it's funny. When I was doing that for you, I said, Scott's the computer guy. He's probably way ahead of me on all of this stuff
Nope.
because the AI is one of the things that I did want to talk to you about, and obviously that's not freehand. That
Right.
was done by the good old computer.
I was going to ask you how you did those
Yeah.
because those are pretty awesome. Pretty
Okay,
awesome.
so I want to turn you on to this thing. You may or may not know it. I'd be surprised if you didn't.
Oh, Edge.
Copilot.microsoft.com.
Yeah.
So
In
they've
Microsoft
got
Edge.
the designer thing. So you just prompt it with what you want, text, and it will text to image.
I actually tried that when they launched it.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
I played with it a little bit, and I was trying to create some images, and it kept telling me it couldn't create an image. I thought maybe I'm doing it wrong or whatever. Maybe I'll spend some time trying to figure it out later. But I know AI is fantastic for like, especially for creators.
Wow.
I think people figure out how to implement AI. It's going to put a lot of people out of work.
Oh,
And
I think it's already happening.
there's actually a say because a lot of people are like, AI is going to take over the world. It's going to replace my job. No, people? You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who knows how to use AI.
Hmm.
Big difference.
Could it possibly be that 90% of people in a certain field are going to lose their job to AI and that they're going to keep on 10 just to overview and oversee?
Well, I mean, you could look at it like like auto factories. I mean, back in the day, cars were built by a assembly line of people,
Right.
and
Oh,
now it's
thank you,
all
baby.
robotic. It's all robots.
Look at
So,
this, buddy.
oh man, I would show you mine, but well, it's an audio podcast. But I have a coffee cup
Just,
that's I have to be careful not to show on my videos because it's well
oh,
probably
tell
not
us
appropriate.
why.
Not it's not appropriate for all. Well, okay, we're gonna.
It's got language on it. Is that what we're saying here?
It's
I'd love to see you squirm. I just have to tell you.
Thank you for that. I'm trying to. Okay, well, we're just talking about here, just as long as your audience does not go. Okay, I don't know if I can ever trust this guy, but basically, the coffee cup
Well, they already
says.
feel that way about me, so don't worry about
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
it.
Basically, it was a gag gift from my wife, and it basically says, "Thanks for all the orgasms. Keep that shit up. Love, Cindy." And I was
That's
like,
beautiful and heartfelt.
it's very heartfelt and it was very special. It makes me laugh every time I pick it up, but for natural reasons, I'm probably not going to, be drinking from it when I'm on the set, so to speak.
On your set.
Right now, I
It
do
would
have.
fit right in here.
Well, I do have another coffee cup that a friend of mine gave me, and it just says "Surrender the Booty," but it's got a little pirate logo because I like pirates and the whole Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean thing. So
Oh
I
yeah.
really he got that for me, and I was like, okay, that's safe-ish, But yes, Cindy's cup is probably not gonna fly.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I'm gonna have
Well,
to
it's
ask.
it's it's not really so bad except when her mom pops up every now and then, and I
Right.
forget to go swap cups. I'm like,
Right.
hey, mom. She's like, nice coffee cup. I'm like, oh God, I'm
You
in
know,
trouble.
full disclosure, Scott. Earlier on, you said if you don't have to. If you don't lie, you don't have to cover up. And so you don't have to go through your house to like hide stuff from, peeking eyes who are coming to visit.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, it's like, well, she is my wife and this is my house. But on the other hand, it's her mother and,
Right, right. And that's
family.
a certain demographic you need to connect with.
Well, she likes me for now. So I don't know. That could change.
Right.
I mean, we've only been married 6 months. So we'll see.
Oh, this is brand new. This
Yeah.
is this is brand new. No wonder. That
Third time's the
explains
charm. Oh, yeah.
that
There's tons of stories there, but that's that might be a follow. If your viewers don't all run for the hills, that might be a follow-up podcast. Be like,
They're
last time
gone. They're gone already.
they're gone.
Um,
They're good. They're good.
third time's a charm for you or her or both of you.
Both.
No kidding.
Both, yeah.
Uh huh.
We both. I mean, we're both are both our grown kids are grown. It's just us, no pets, no dogs.
Uh
Well, we
huh.
have some friends that are probably considered pets, but I mean, for the most part, it's just the two of us. And she's independent woman. She's career minded, successful, and I had my business, my YouTube channel. I mean, I was trying to go places, and we did not want to. No, it was no hard no from both of us. We were just like, we can be friends and all that. And honestly, it didn't take very long at all for me to go. No, I can't imagine breathing without you. And
Wow.
I said, we both said we're never getting, we could be dating or living in sin or whatever you want to call it, is that we're not getting married again. I'm not going through all that. And eventually I was like, I got to put a ring on her finger because she is the reason that I have made it to this point. She's the reason I went through all the shit
Right.
to
Right.
get to this moment. We both learned what we didn't want. And when we both sat and had an adult conversation and compared notes. And again, once we agreed that we didn't like beats, it was kind of easy from there.
Huh.
Because but we just talked with principles, morals, what you like, what you don't, and it was like she is absolutely my perfect. She is my human. I call her my person all the time. She was literally designed for me, and I'm just super elated. I just wish I had 50 more years with her instead of maybe only 20 or 25. Um, but
Right.
I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it.
Before we drill down on the whole beats thing, where and how did you guys meet?
Okay, so remember I told you earlier there's always a funny story, right? Well, I'll try to make this short and sweet. My friend, who sometimes is more of a pet than a friend, um, had decided to go out to local bar one night and called me up and said, "Hey, why don't you come hang out with us at the bar?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? I need a break." As we are walking in the door, that's when he tells me that my girlfriend that I had recently broken up with and didn't talk to, and it wasn't very good terms. By the way, she's going to be here and she's sitting at our table. I'm like, you son of it was, the words were not pretty.
Right.
So I sucked it up and I sat there like a little 5 year old, just all bent out of shape. And I'm madder than a hornet at this guy. I mean, I love him to death. He's one of my best friends, but I'm like, I'm gonna find a way to legally kill you. I'm just gonna do it. I was like, I cannot believe you just pulled the worst possible bro move ever. You know. So anyway, long story short, Cindy, who had just met him not too long before, I had known him for a while, but she had just met him not too long ago, had popped in. And anyway, long story short, she was about to head outside and went out to the little patio area there. And I'm like, you know what? I'm coming with. So I'm like, I didn't know her from Adam. I just met her. And I went out there and just, I was like, okay, you're a girl, you're his friend. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you be honest with me? She's like, sure. And I said, I explained to her what just happened. And she's like, oh God, no, bad, bad, bad. Then I'm like, well, he's been drinking. I don't know how to deal with this. And she's like, well, don't talk to him tonight because it's not going to do any good. He's drunk. Go talk to him face to face, man to man, friend to friend. Tell him he did a boo boo. And we worked through all that. He was like, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. But it gave me the opportunity to talk to her, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I kind of like this girl. She's got a good head on her shoulders. She's smart. She's pretty. And then our friend invited us to go hang out at our local. We got a little beer fest locally here in town. One of my friends owns the establishment, and it's just a big kind of an outdoor thing, music and just people drinking all kinds of beer and just relaxing. Anyway, so he invited both of us up there. Neither of us wanted to go, but we both independently decided that we were going to just go and just have a good time, right? And I went up there, and there was the table that my friends were all sitting at, and there was one seat open, and it was right next to her. And so naturally I sat down and I just started talking to her and haven't stopped talking since. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew that night. I was like, this woman is in my life for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and get out of my own way. and just let it happen. And best decision, I made a lot of bad decisions, and this one by far was the best decision I've made.
And that
That's
was
the short. That's the short version.
that's a short version. That was
Yeah.
within a year. You've been married 6 months, you said.
No, it was April 22,
Hmm.
and we dated for about a year. And May of 23, I asked her to marry me, and then September we got married.
Ah, okay.
So yeah,
Wow, that's very cool.
about a year and a half between start to finish.
Well, not so bad. It's pretty darn quick, actually.
It's certainly quicker than I've ever done before, because usually being a Capricorn, I overthink everything and find a way to talk myself out of something I really wanted to do. And no matter how much I fought it, I said, there's life, and then there's life with her, and I just really don't want to just do regular life anymore. So
I get it. I get it. That's
she
a
makes
second.
every aspect of my life better.
Well, we're going to have to make sure she listens to this.
Oh, I already asked her when we took a little break a little while ago. I was like, "You can
Hmm.
actually listen to this thing," and she's like, "Oh yeah, especially if you're talking about me." I was like, "Okay."
Oh yeah,
Just,
yeah. I
but
think
so
we should
far,
get her on the horn right now.
no, no, we should not.
Scott, you made in our short period of time together so far here on the air, you've made two references to your sign, your astrological sign. So, are you of the belief that there are only 12 different types of personalities out there?
Oh no, I've been married to more than 12 of them. No, I'm not into astrology.
Oh,
I'm not into
yes,
signs.
you are.
No, no, hang on. There's always a caveat. Um, I believe that certain people might have certain traits based on, whatever, but I think a lot of it too is trained. Like you grow up and everybody tells you you're a Capricorn. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means you're detail oriented and you're this and well, I'm a Virgo. It means this and this. I think a lot of that as you grow into what you're told your sign is.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily believe that just because I'm a Capricorn and you're a Virgo, that means we shouldn't be together. Now, when I go back and look at my two previous wives, I look at the signs and I'm like, yeah, that I should have paid more attention to that. Maybe there is something to it. Um, but I know I'm a Capricorn, and Capricorns are famous for just being nitpicky and detailed and thorough. And I don't put a lot of weight into it. I grew up knowing I was a Capricorn.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
mother was a Capricorn. So my whole life, it was you're a Capricorn at XYZ. And but I mean, honestly, it wouldn't mess. She could be a Capricorn and we still get along great, you
So,
know.
since we've brought up the fact that you have made mention of your sign a couple of times and that you're not really into this,
Right.
and you and I have known each other now for a couple of months, and
Right.
it's a pretty tight, strong bond, is what I'm feeling. Do
Right.
you have any sense of what my sign might be based on my personality, what you've seen or read or heard about me?
Absolutely not.
Because we have a lot of people out there who
Because
love
I just don't.
candles and
Yeah,
incense
no,
and
I don't. I put more energy into personality types
uh-huh.
than I do signs. I think it's a Briggs Myers personality test where people are
Right.
generally four signs: the red, yellow, green, blue, generally.
Yeah.
And I actually was in a network marketing adventure before where it helps to build your business when you can kind of know whether the person you're talking to is more concerned about building a bottle school or whether they're ready to dive off a building into a pool. Two totally different people.
I'm an
Um,
INTJ.
well, I can't
Is
even
that what
remember.
you mean?
Well, I know what you're talking about.
Right.
We
Okay.
based ours on colors.
Okay.
Red's generally going to be like aggressive. Just give me the facts. Decision made. Go on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk to
Mm-hmm.
me again.
Yep.
Blues are let's party, party, party. They work all week to party on the weekends. Yellows are like the nurses, the teachers, the people that care more about other humans. They're the ones that doctors, without borders, those kind of people, the people that just care more about other humans. Those are the yellow people. And then there's greens, this guy right here,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
who are you give if there's a spreadsheet I can look at, I'm all about it. If there's numbers and facts, if there's a brochure, I've got to read it cover to cover. If
Mm-hmm.
there's whatever it is, I'm the guy that reads the terms of service agreement top to bottom.
Well, so you're that guy.
Yeah, the overly analytical, the one that you just like, dude, will you please just make a decision? I'm like, I can't make a decision without facts. Now I've slowly gotten away from that, starting a business, dealing with people who are kind of mean sometimes has kind of
Hmm.
made me a little less that guy. Usually it's like, I got to make a choice. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to go. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but whatever. Um, but when I was in the network marketing thing, it really certainly helped, because if you know what type of person that you're talking to, you know what not to say to them. You
Hmm.
know, people who are business owners and executives, they don't generally care about building bottle schools, and people who are concerned about financial success and investing don't care about jumping off a 30-foot diving board. They're risk management type people. I'm a low risk guy, so I spend more time paying attention to color types and personality types. And admittedly, it's been years since I did all that, and but I did learn that people aren't just people. They're people. People are different types of people. There's some people that I meet immediately, and I'm like, that guy likes to party, and I need to stay
Hmm.
away from him. Because he's gonna get that's gonna be the guy I'm sitting next to in jail and be like, wasn't that fun? I'm like, no, dude, I don't have the bail money. What do you mean fun? I
Exactly.
don't have a lawyer. I have found that I just enjoy people more than I used to. Uh, Now that I've started to see little quirks in people that I'm like, hey, that guy right there, I bet he's a party guy. I bet you do. Don't let his facade fool you in his nice clothes. I bet you that guy likes to rock.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it can be,
Yeah.
but more importantly, it has really taught me more the people to either avoid or step up to a different color personality type. Because, for example, this is one thing we always learn. If you're a red personality type, it's generally executives, people in power, people with the suits, the clothes. You don't go get you don't say, give me a shot of tequila at the bar. You say, I want a shot of 1800 Reposado one cube. They don't
Hmm.
have a watch. They have a Rolex. They don't have a
Hmm.
car. They have a Lexus RC, or so. They're brand oriented generally. And so when you hear somebody order, you know, they don't order a gin and tonic. They order a Tanqueray and tonic. You're like, okay, all right. You said one word, and I know exactly the type of person you are.
Right.
That helps me talk to people a little bit better. It's one of those things that just sticks in the back of my head sometimes now.
Yeah, it's important to pay attention to knowing your audience is a really important thing, isn't it?
Well, actually, that has helped me with some of the comments that I've responded to on my YouTube channel.
Hmm.
Somebody will come at me with something that would normally be offensive, but certain words that they use, I'm like, no, they're frustrated, or maybe they're blaming me for their problem, but they're not blaming me. They just don't know how to convey that into words that make, a cohesive sentence. And I'm like, and I reply back in their color personality, and they're like, man, thank you so much. And I'm like,
Right. Like, how
win.
am I going to dumb this down to answer this person?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some
Right.
people just come on. Oh, I'll tell you what, I got troll stories for days, but there's people that come on the channel that doesn't matter. There's always somebody smarter, which is one thing. If you had asked me, like, what's the one thing you've learned out of all this? I'm like, I'm not as smart as I thought I was. I mean, I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
this a long time, but there's always somebody out there way smarter, and they somehow find their way to my YouTube comments, because no matter what I say, it's wrong, or I could do it better. And I'm like, yeah,
Yes,
okay, you're
but
right.
they don't have 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah, well, honestly, there have been several times where somebody has really just. I try not to let people get under my skin, and that's a hard job, because I'm sensitive to that. I try to put out stuff that people generally like and that is helpful to people. And when somebody just comes on and just craps all over my comments, and I'm like, you know what? Send me the link to your YouTube channel so I can see how to do this right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
magically, they never, because I'll look ahead of time and I'll be like, they got 2 subscribers and they don't even have a video. I'm like, okay, show me how to do it
Right.
better then. Some people just live to crap on others, and I have to accept that it's just, that's, maybe he had a bad day, maybe he had some bad beats. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
we're
know
going to get back to that one. But
I thought we would avoid beats altogether. I thought that was a condition of this podcast.
no, we're gonna avoid feeding you beats, but we're
Okay.
not going to
See,
avoid drilling down into your mind a
my
little
wife
bit.
says I don't ever pay attention. There's a perfect example. Okay, go.
Social media has allowed for a lot of weaklings and cowards to
Right.
do bad stuff.
Yeah.
So, is this just going to get worse and worse?
You know, you mean as a whole, or like as far as like this the specific platforms, or clarify the question.
Is it going to reach out
You talking about
and
like
start
hate
to
comments and things like that, just or fat
behavior,
shaming, things like
be,
that?
behavior, just overall behavior, society and cultural behaviors that allows people who are cowards or who are
I got you.
potentially
I got you.
deadly or who
Yeah.
are politically out of their minds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. We used to have an expression back in the day, and you've probably heard of it. It's called keyboard commando.
Hmm.
In other words, they're badass sitting behind a screen typing on a keyboard. And most of these people I've found that have something is now there's people who have legitimate arguments and think and they just don't know how to voice those arguments in a lucid, well thought out way. Some people just scream at the top of their lungs because they think that they're not being heard or whatever. But a lot of these people who just troll other people or just hate stuff, uh, if you saw them in public, they would never say these things to your face
Right.
because you get brave behind a keyboard. If I have an opinion about something, I have learned that telling other people about my opinion does not change anything. If I'm whether it's politics, which I don't get into
Same.
because I don't care who you vote for. I care that you're smart enough to make the right choice. If you vote for somebody because your dad or your grandfather or great grandfather voted for them and you're not putting your mind into that choice, whether it's politics or anything, if you're not educated enough to make your own decision, that's where I have a problem. But I'm not going to get into an argument with you. I'm not going to try to convince you. I'm just going to acknowledge that I can't have a discussion with you about facts when you don't know any. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I know a little about a lot and I know a lot about a little, but I don't know a lot about a lot, you
Hmm.
know? So you just have to, just like with anything else, whether it's a YouTube comment or somebody getting in my face because they think I was talking to their girlfriend, you just deal with each situation as it comes. You weigh the facts. You just, everything's situational.
It is.
Nothing's all encompassing.
Well,
And that's
situational
age
and
and wisdom.
transactional.
Yeah, right. Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just age and wisdom. It just comes with the years of, and Gary V said something to me. I was, well, not to me. I was watching one of Gary V's podcast or on stage things today, and he said something that really hit home. And he goes, this generation, part of the problem this generation has is they didn't get their asses beat when they were a kid. They didn't get in fights. Nobody fights anymore. It's usually something way worse than that. But I remember back in the day when I screwed up and somebody punched me in the face,
Hmm.
it stuck. And nobody does that anymore. And I think that's part of what you were talking about earlier about the generational thing is the whether it's the parents or the kids. I think a lot of kids just need to either be swatted or as my ex-wife used to say, dusted off, um, or just nobody gets grounded. Nobody gets in a fight anymore. And I think that's, I hate to say it, but those were kind of the good old days, when you were grounded. It
Right.
didn't matter what the girl looked like. You were grounded. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. There are no consequences anymore in today's generation. And from
100%.
what I can see, it's getting worse, meaning that there are going to be fewer and fewer consequences for the activities and actions that people are taking. So how do we fix that right now?
Oh God, man, if I had that magic pill, I think I don't think it's something we can do as a society because the society as a whole can't even agree that the sun comes up in the east.
Mm.
And it's like, how do you convince someone, 80% of people out there believe the sky is blue, but there's always that 20% that will argue with you. So how do you convince 100% of people anything? I think each person has a inherent responsibility to not only, if they bring children in this world, to do the best they can, to sacrifice where they need to raise that child to be just a little bit better than they are. I think if you have a platform in life where you can reach out to people, I think you should not waste that and actually do some good in this world. And I think if you see something that needs to be fixed, don't wait for somebody else to do it. Just go fix
Uh,
it. If you see somebody, in a wheelchair scraping snow off their driveways, you know what, pull over and help them out, you know. um, I think if everybody just did a little bit more than they're doing, the cumulative effect would be amazing on this planet.
Right. It would be
But
nice if that.
I'm not a philosopher or anything like that, and I don't know how to fix this world's problems. I just know that I can do what I can do, and hopefully I lead by example.
So do you feel that there's a more positive or more negative thing to come when it becomes your life or your outlook or the world's life and the world's outlook?
Okay, so I have to break that into multiple parts. For my side, my personal life, I think it's going just up upwards with no looking back. Part of that is because I chose to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I put in the effort, I did the things, I sacrificed, I said no to a lot of people so I could stay home and work. Um, I also make time for the people that matter to me. My wife says, "Hey, can you come here for a second?" Yeah, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. Stop. Go do that because she'll remember that. She'll also remember if I couldn't make time for her. Or same with your children. You know, make time for your children. Now, as a whole, as a society, I think everything kind of goes back to politics because we have become so politically divided. My dad was a staunch Republican for years. And so I grew up Republican because
Mm-hmm.
that's what my dad was. I didn't know the difference. I just knew that he screamed at Democrats and clapped at Republicans. Okay, well, that's what I'll do, right? And eventually I just said, well, let me just kind of weigh pros and cons and, you know, use my own brain and decide for myself. But he told me something many, many years ago that stuck with me to this day. And he used to say part of the reason that things, like during the Reagan years, for example, things would get done. Ronald Reagan was smart enough to understand that out of 10 issues, six of them we can agree on. We can agree that veterans deserve to be treated better. We can agree that people shouldn't be eating out of trash cans. We can agree that people shouldn't have to work just to pay taxes. Okay. So out of 10 issues, any 10 issues, Republicans and Democrats can agree on six of them publicly without losing votes. Now, the four things that we don't agree on, maybe, you know, socialized medicine, welfare state, you know, all the different things that divide us, gun control, things like that.
Abortion,
Those
the hot
abortion,
topics.
100% abortion, right? All
Mm-hmm.
absolutely women's rights, and having two daughters, by the way, is kind of what pushed me closer to the middle, for the record, because I lean more that way now that I've actually had daughters and have
Mm-hmm.
listened to them talk about their bodies and things like that. Six out of 10 things you and I can agree on. I guarantee you, pick 10, we'll agree on six. So let's agree that those four things, we're just going to hold those close to the vest. You and I are never going to agree on them. And let's spend our efforts, let's take our time and work on those six things that we do agree on. That's how you change the world, because now we've just made a 60% increase in solving whatever 10 issues we had because we can agree to disagree on the other four. That's how
Mm-hmm.
Reagan got stuff done back in the day. The best politicians know sometimes you just have to give in to get the bigger fish, you know, to get a bigger goal. I didn't like this. And politicians get punished for votes. And again, I don't get into politics, but politicians will get punished and sometimes kicked out of office or voted out of office because they voted on something that was inherently opposite of what their demographic or their voter base supports,
Mm-hmm.
but they did it for the right reason and it was for a better overall cause. You know, the Iraq War was kind of the same thing. We all went through that. People voted for it, but then they got punished for it. I just think until the money gets out of politics, nothing's going to change. So to
Yeah.
answer your question, I only see it getting worse because even in the past 10, 15 years, I've seen the political divide just, you can't even talk to somebody now
I know.
unless you're the same party, which is why I don't ask people what party they are, because that could instantly, I mean, just like that, make you not hear anything I had to say. That's part of the problem is we got to get rid of that divide. And part of the reason you get rid of that divide is, or how the way you get rid of that is to take the money out of politics because people
Yeah.
vote their pockets. You know, politicians don't vote their conscience. They vote their they're donors.
Right, right. You got to cater to that market.
You take money and lobbyists out of Congress, out of politics. All of a sudden, they have to vote their conscience, and then the voters can actually determine whether or not they agree with those things. So,
Those are
um,
great points. However, I don't see that ever happening. I just don't.
right. And unfortunately, it's not. I joke with people all the time. I said,
Yeah.
I'm moving to Saturn because there's nowhere I can go.
How
That's
about
I'm gonna get away.
Uranus?
Well, you moved to Uranus. I'm not moving to Uranus. And I think it's Neil deGrasse Tyson would say it's probably Uranus, but we'll let that
Yeah,
one
but
slide.
like, what does he know? Just because
Right.
his cranium is like
Well, I
that
mean, you
big.
can blame him because it's his fault we don't have Pluto anymore, but actually it's not his fault. But yeah, I'm a little bit of a science geek if you haven't figured that out already.
Yeah, no, I definitely dig that kind of stuff as well, for
Yeah,
sure.
I
So
would
now
say
the
it's a Capricorn trait, but it's probably not.
there you go again. So you still,
Now, Scott.
so yeah, you just have no idea who I am yet. So, okay, back to the beats. Want to kind of wrap up the beat story. Is it
Okay.
because you both had traumatic experiences as a child, eating
Oh,
canned beets that were pickled or mommy put in soup
um,
or salad or something like that? Or
well,
was it a more grown up experience when you had a beautifully roasted golden beet with a little bit of walnut and honey? And tell me what the thing is with you two.
okay. Well, I'm not going to speak for my wife because I'm sure she has her own beet trauma. I don't think we've ever really gone in depth because I just don't want to talk about it.
I hear
Um,
you.
I have had pickled beets before,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't think they were horrible.
But it was
It,
enough for the two of you to bond over it.
we
See, this
bonded
is what
over
I'm
it.
going for.
We had a beet bonding.
Right.
And I, when you question whether or not you made the right choice with this woman, and she's like, the conversation, I was like, well, she's into cooking, she's into food, she loves to.
Right.
So I was like, she's like, do you have anything you like to eat or whatever? And I'm like, as long as it's not beets. And she just looked at me like, oh my god, that's my man right there. And
Right.
so just
Right.
kind of now,
Pitter
if she
patter.
right, she won't even cook them. She won't even try to convince me like she did with the collard greens and the
Right.
black eyed peas. She's like, I'm not. No, she's like, no. So I just, and I've lived half my life without surviving on beets. I think I'll be okay.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, if somebody said, hey, eating beets will do. I mean, I try to eat healthy. We eat fruits and vegetables and things like that. It's just beets is not one of them.
hmm
And
hmm
so yeah, I
I
just
bet
got
her story is a lot more fun.
interesting. I don't know if she was force fed beets as a child as a punishment. I don't know. Could
Right.
be.
Right. Right.
It could be. You know what? It's one of those things you just don't talk about. Yeah.
Well,
So,
we can't leave anything dangling, and that's
oh
really
yeah, we
part of
can. That's why we
this.
have multiple podcasts. You could have me back to talk about all the other things. So,
Like, where are you now on this and that? So,
right.
okay. Well, that's very good. What haven't I asked you that we should know about?
We haven't done the 20 questions yet. I've been
Mm.
dying for that.
Oh, okay.
Do you have like a template 20 questions kind of thing, or have you gone? There's no way this guy can just answer a question if I ask him. He's got to give me this.
It's, I don't use templates because I love working off the top of my head. Number one
Okay,
is that you wear a wristwatch.
I do.
What's that all about?
A wristwatch?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I wear an Apple Watch because I'm tired of picking up my phone every 5 seconds. And if I can look at my watch and say I don't care, then it's just easier that way. I actually, my funny story. See, I told you this is just it's going to be like 3 questions and we're done. When we went on our cruise, they recommend that you wear you go just get a cheap little $5 watch and set it to cruise ship time because cruise ship time doesn't change even if no matter where your location is, and the boat leaves on cruise ship time, not what time it is locally. And that's a good way to end up not on the boat. She went and ordered me this little $6-7 real traditional watch with hands and everything, and pretty blue face and nice leather band, and I love that thing. And so now I end up wearing that more than my Apple Watch, which has to be plugged in and charged and all that. So yeah, that's the wristwatch.
Cruise ship time, is that a metaphor or is it
No, 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 it's
related to
cruise ship.
where
Yeah,
cruise lines
cruise
are
ship time is
registered?
Yeah, cruise ship time is generally going to be the time of whatever time it is whatever time zone in the port, your departure port. So, you may be 1, 2 hours ahead or behind, and the cruise ship doesn't wait just because you can't figure out what time you're supposed to leave. And they tell you that. I mean, they put signs everywhere going, make sure you're back here at this such time. But if you just out of habit looking at your watch and you're an hour ahead or an hour behind, I guess,
Hmm.
you go, oh, we got an extra hour. No, you don't. The boat's about to leave. So
Okay.
that's why you buy the little cheap throwaway watch that you can look at when you're on the boat. And I didn't even take this with me. I left it at home because I didn't need it. I wasn't going to have any internet, so having an internet enabled watch was pointless. So I said, I'm just going to take this little watch with me, and took it everywhere I went.
Oh, okay. You know the difference between a shank and a shiv?
A shank and a shiv.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been to prison, Matt. I mean,
So
I,
those are prison related.
well, I know if you get shanked in prison, it's not going to work out for you. I'm sure shiv probably doesn't have any better outcome. What's the difference?
I don't know. I'm the one asking the questions.
I,
Um,
I would think a shank is maybe made out of something heavier, and shivs maybe made out of something lighter, like toothbrush or the tine from a fork or something. I don't know.
Sort of
I
like a more on the fly type of a weapon.
It may be about where you can store it. The
And
difference,
back to the planetary thing.
right? Right. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's just where you put it.
What's your favorite junk food?
My favorite junk food has got to be pizza. We love pizza.
Again with the pizza. I had Scott Wiener on this show recently. I haven't published the show yet, but he runs Scott's food tour, pizza tours in New York City.
Okay.
This guy is a walking encyclopedia of everything pizza.
Wow.
So
Okay.
when we come out with that, you should definitely take a look at that
Oh,
or listen.
definitely.
But
Definitely.
what would be your toppings on that, and why do you classify that as junk food?
So pepperoni, mushroom, banana peppers. Pretty much banana peppers on anything, but definitely on pizza. Um, Mushrooms, that's more because my wife really likes mushrooms. I could live without them. I could just do pepperoni, banana peppers, but I'll try to make her happy. Why do I call it junk food? Well, because it's the bread is so full of starches, and I don't know anybody that's lost weight eating pizza. It's just traditionally just one of those things, but it's also a weakness, and it's one of those things where it's like, I don't crave it often, but when I do, nothing else is going to work. I just got to have a hot, fresh pizza.
Is there a go-to place for you, or do you make it?
No, we do both. She does make homemade pizzas. We do have a little local place that makes some pretty fantastic pizza, and we live about a mile from there. So just about the time I'm hanging up the phone, they're ding dong ringing the doorbell, and I'm
What kind of crust is it that you prefer?
usually thicker crust. I don't really like just not the super thin kind, and I don't like the super deep dish. So basically, just I guess just a regular hand toss.
Hmm. Yeah, we want to make sure we ask you a lot of questions because we want our audience to know that besides beets and mushrooms and lima beans, that you actually
No,
like some other
no,
foods. So,
you can't. No, don't include mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I just don't
okay.
have to have them on a pizza. But I will eat raw mushrooms. I will eat cooked mushrooms. I will eat the hell out of some mushrooms. She likes pepperoni mushrooms. I like pepperoni banana peppers. So we meet in the middle and get pepperoni banana peppers and mushrooms.
So the banana peppers are your favorite peppers, and are they pickled?
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like the typical, the pepperoncini type stuff that you would get at the
Hmm.
grocery.
Hmm.
I just love them. I'm from Texas originally, so I kind of like spicy food. Anything that's got a little bit of zip to it. You know, I don't look at mild sauce packets. I'm just like, give me the hot. So I like when something isn't is just without heat or spice. It would be kind of bland, but then you throw that heat on it, and it's like, wow. It's like I know we don't do brands, but I'm probably safe with this one. Cholula, the hot sauce,
Sure.
man. Like Frank's, we put that on everything, and we buy the big bottles of the Cholula because we go through a lot of it. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's why the I just like banana. I've always liked banana peppers. I just like the way
Have
they taste.
Have you plugged in with Chili Crunch?
Chili Crunch? No.
Yeah, there are a lot of different brands of
Okay.
Chili Crunch, and
Okay.
it's usually a variety of chilies and garlic and onions and black beans and
Okay.
oils and stuff like that. And it's phenomenal. If you like a little bit of zip to your food, you
Yeah.
should go. I think they have it at the Walmart, the famous one, Lao Ma, I think is what
Okay.
it's
I'm gonna
called.
check that out
And
because we
it's
always like,
amazing.
yeah, we always. I mean, I'm surprised she doesn't know about it, but yeah, I mean, she would totally be up for it. So,
Oh yeah, check that out.
well, it's really cool
Definitely.
too because we've got one of my friends. He's married to a Cambodian woman for the last 25 years, and she's got some spices that like when I go to his house, it's an experience. But most time he'll send me home with a bottle of something or other that nobody here's ever heard of, and
Hmm.
so I'm always looking for new stuff. So chili crunch, you said?
Yeah, Chili Crunch is the
Okay.
overall name of the product. It's not the
Okay.
exact name of the bottle, but if you just ask for Chili Crunch or
Okay.
go to the
Okay.
international or Asian aisle in your Walmart, they'll have
Well,
it.
we actually have an international market here that we just discovered. Well, she discovered years ago, but she finally talked me into going. But I mean, it's every nationality you could ever imagine. So we'll definitely check that out.
Oh, yeah. You'll thank me for that one. That's for
Okay.
sure. You
Fair.
see, good
Fair.
stuff comes out of everything.
I know. As long as you just let the beats thing go, and we'd be fine. But you just keep
Well,
bringing it
I
back.
we're done for the moment on
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So, are you a Mac or a PC guy?
I am a PC guy who would rather have a Mac. And you're
Do
going,
tell.
okay, that makes no sense. Well, I've supported Windows PCs for 35 years. Getting a Mac, the same reason when I went into business, I started working on PCs because if I was working on Macs, I'd be broke and hungry.
Hmm.
But they just don't break. They're just quality. But there's a learning curve, and it's not for everybody. Now, I have an iPhone and an iPad, so I'm familiar with the iOS architecture, and I like this. I fought getting an iPhone. I went from a BlackBerry to I upgraded from a BlackBerry. You remember those?
Yeah.
Um, I had a choice to upgrade, and I had a choice between the current generation Android and the current generation iPhone, and I went Android because my little tiny pea brain could not comprehend that I could do everything with one button. It just didn't. I just my Capricorn brain said you need a button for this, a button for this, a button for this, a button for this. And I fought Apple for years, and it was Android, Android, Android. And eventually, I got an iPhone accidentally somehow, and I would never go. I just couldn't do anything. But PC, like I said, PC is where I make my money. Macs, I couldn't make any money. So Macs are better, stronger, more expensive, and if you know PCs, you may not be able to figure it out. But yeah, as far as what I prefer, PCs just because it keeps me fed.
Let's break that down a little bit. Like you, I'm a guy, if you went back 30, 35 years, a
Yeah,
guy who likes to get under the hood and play and tinker inside
right,
of Windows
right,
boxes.
right,
People didn't do that with Macs.
right,
Also, the Mac ecosystem seems
right.
just like a bad way to do business. And so, where do you stand on those kind of two issues? Because they're separate, but they're along the same path.
Well, Macs are hard to work on because they make them hard to work on. I mean, they're not designed to be user replaceable anything unless you already know how to do that, and then you're good to go. But I mean, with a Mac, if you don't put in the right screw, that thing won't even turn on.
Hmm.
And I believe me, it's happened. Now, as far as the ecosystem, a lot of that comes into, and I deal with this a lot when it comes to people talking about convenience versus security and privacy. And, there's a big line. How convenient do you want your world to be versus how secure you want it to be? If you are on a Mac ecosystem or an iOS or Apple ecosystem, I like the fact, and again, I'm a computer guy, but I like the fact that I can take a snapshot on a screenshot on this device and then go into the other room and my iPad, there it is. I like that. I like being able to do it on my iPad and it's on my
Hmm.
phone. Um, I like the fact that, and if I had a Mac, same thing. I'm not necessarily sure that that necessarily would work. Like, for example, text messages. If you send a text to an iPhone, it's going to show up on your Mac. Now, I happen to know a couple that ended up not working out so well for them because the
Mm-hmm.
wife was sitting at the Mac while the husband was using the iPhone.
Yeah.
Now, as far as privacy, security, and all that, I mean, pick a company, Microsoft, Apple, Google, YouTube, I mean, it's how much privacy, true privacy, are you willing to give up for the things that you love every day? I love the fact that I can start watching a YouTube video on my phone or my iPad, and I can go walk out to my garage and I can play it on my TV right from my phone. And then when I'm done, I can go right onto YouTube and it picks up exactly where I left off.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I could watch a 3 hour, whatever, bits and pieces here, but there's a trade off for that. I get comments all the time, people about you're preaching about privacy, but you have a YouTube channel. I said, well, you have an email address that you had to put into YouTube in order to reply to me that I shouldn't do that. And it's you're making all this content. You trust YouTube. I'm like, well, if I didn't have that channel, which I couldn't get without the email address, you wouldn't be able to comment because there'd be nothing to comment on. So it's a trade off. You know, privacy, security, two-factor authentication is what's convenient for you versus what scares you.
What about the
And
proprietary aspect of the ports and the cables and everything is separate and everything is special? It's just for that
well,
system
yeah, I mean
instead of being able
they make
yeah,
it that way on purpose. So you have to go back to them to do anything, to either repair or to upgrade or anything. It's actually kind of smart.
from a business model standpoint.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
from a business standpoint, absolutely smart. From a convenience, but most people who use Macs probably just buy the Mac that they want. They don't care about the upgrades because it just works faster than anything Microsoft or Windows is going to come out with. So they have a very specific need for it. They're designers and editors and whatever, and they buy the machine that does what they need, and then 5 years from now, it still works. So
right.
it's a trade-off. You spend
Well,
a lot more money, but you don't have to
yeah,
upgrade.
I'm the guy who wears things and drives things into the ground. You remember the basketball player Kurt Rambis used to play for the
Oh
Lakers?
yeah, big
The guy
goofy.
who had tape around his
Uh-huh.
eyeglasses.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
He's a Laker, wasn't he? Wasn't he LA
yes,
Lakers?
yeah, he
Yeah.
was a Laker. Um, so I'm kind of like that. The PC I had prior to this mini I just got, which I love,
Yeah.
was like 14-year-old i7. Um, but it worked this whole time. But I just wanted to be able to do stuff faster and
Right.
more
Right.
hardy. But yeah, so staying up to date, getting the latest phones and this and that is kind of a thought process that I don't really understand, I guess.
Yeah. And some people just do it just to keep up with the Joneses. I'm not that guy. I'm going to
Hmm.
buy what I need that meets my needs. And then, and granted, the advantage to being a computer guy is if I have to upgrade anything, I don't pay labor. It's my time,
Right. Right.
whereas you might have to pay somebody to upgrade you from one video card to the other, upgrade your operating system or clone a hard drive, whatever. I don't pay for that. So it's not really fair for me to say that it's not apples and oranges. Um,
Right. True.
but
True.
find what you need that works for you. I tell people all the time, you don't need a Ferrari to go to the grocery store.
Yep. Point A
You,
to point B is the way my mom
yeah,
would say.
you could still buy a nice fancy four-door sedan, but it doesn't have to be a Rolls.
Right.
Just
Right.
get what you need and maybe a little bit more.
Yep. That feels good. That sounds good.
Right, right.
Um,
I think we
when
were
was
on
the last?
question 2 out of 20.
Huh?
I think we were on
What?
question 2 out of 20.
Yeah. Right. 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 Uh, okay. The old standby is like, when was the last time you Googled yourself?
Oh God. I heard you ask somebody this question the other day and it made me go, oh my God, I hope he doesn't ask me that. Maybe 2007. I think
Really? A
Google
big
had only
shot
been
like
out.
you with the YouTube channel.
I just don't have a reason to. I know who I am. I don't care what it says online. I mean, that's all, whatever you find online is stuff that was my past anyway, and I'm not that person anymore. So what do I care what it says on Google? Do the right thing and you don't have to worry about what shows up.
Oh, what's your favorite condiment?
Man. Are we limiting ourselves to just like the typical condiments or like what would I put on?
Our limit is today.
Well, it's not technically a condiment, but it will be here in a couple hours when I cook these ribeyes, and it's fresh blue cheese. I cook
Okay.
ribeyes with blue cheese on them, and it's just, oh, it's night and day. night and day.
Have you heard of reverse searing?
Reverse searing.
Hmm.
I've
Or
heard about it,
steak?
but I am not a grill master, so I don't know. I don't. I'm so embarrassed to be on a foodie show, and I don't know these.
How do you cook your ribeye?
Okay, so in because I'm a Capricorn, I do all my research first because I'm not a guy that does that. I mean, I want to make the best. It started off my first ribeye I cooked was for my wife's birthday last year,
The
and
first ribeye ever? Excuse me.
first one
What?
I had ever cooked on the grill. Yeah,
Okay. Grill
because
meaning like outside on what people call barbecues?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
they're in and they're pricey, so I didn't want to screw it up, and it was her birthday, and so I naturally watched 1,000 videos, and the way I do it on the grill, I find some really fantastic marinade, which I actually found a really good one on TikTok, not but a couple weeks ago, made her a ribeye and she fell in love with it. Usually what I do, assuming about a, let's say 3/4 inch thick, 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch, usually um, I will throw it probably on each side initially for minute 20, and then once I've done that, just kind of get a little sear on both sides, then I'll flip it back over on anywhere from probably 3 to 350 heat,
Hmm. Hmm.
for anywhere from 3 minutes 15 to 3:45 per side, and then pull them off, let them rest for about 10 minutes. Well, pull them off, then throw the blue cheese on them, cover them, and let them rest, and they turn out phenomenal.
Are you cooking over coals or wood, or are you cooking
Charcoal,
gas?
yeah, charcoal,
Charcoal.
yeah.
And so you use an internal probe thermometer?
I don't. I check. I generally don't even check the meat anymore because I've just done it so many times. But I do. Okay, if I'm not 100, like if it's a normal thicker cut, I'm
Yeah.
going to definitely grab the internal thermometer. But um, yeah, I can just usually look and tell. I,
Okay, so you're pretty comfortable there. So we're going to have to talk more about the favorite condiment, but the blue cheese sounds like a perfect accompaniment to a
well,
ribeye.
fresh blue cheese. It's
Fresh blue cheese.
definitely makes it. We got some from a local food distributor, Memphis area food distributor. A friend of ours works there, and she was able to get us some. And, it's like a tub of it.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, it's game changer. And I
Yeah, I
wasn't.
love that stuff.
My wife actually turned me on to blue cheese. I did not care for it at all. And then
Right.
she's
That's
like, "You
usually
have
the way
not
it
lived."
goes.
She's like, "You have not lived till you've had a steak with blue cheese on." I'm like, "Okay, I'll bite. Let's do it." And I did it, and I
And
was like, "Okay, that's it,
and
done."
now it's a thing.
Now it's a thing. It's like I'm literally thinking about it right now, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna be a good steak."
Mm. Candy bar, favorite?
Favorite candy bar. Now you asked somebody the other day, it was a favorite classic candy bar, I believe. So, um, let's
You
see.
can get obscure with me if you need to.
Okay, it's like if I was on a desert island.
Are there
Does
any
candy count?
islands other than desert islands?
That's a good point.
Okay,
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
when we're talking candy bar, can we migrate that into less candy bar and more candies?
Just candy. Yeah, candy.
Skittles, 100%. I'm a
No kidding. I think we're
oh
going to have to
I've got
call it.
I keep about 3 to 5 pounds of Skittles at on hand at any by the bed in here. I mean, I got right here.
Oh dear.
I'm not
You weren't kidding.
I'm not kidding. I went on a cruise, had Skittles with me, have them by the bed. Yeah, I don't go anywhere without them.
As
They're
long as you
great.
have your Skittles and your tequila, you're good. Sounds like.
100%. Yeah, that's I'm low maintenance, man. I mean, yeah, I'm low maintenance.
That is pretty wild.
Skittles. As far as candy bars,
Hmm.
I do love a good Snickers. As far as chocolate candies, I really love Rolos.
Hmm.
Always love Rolos. What about you?
Interesting. Uh, Candy bars?
Yeah.
Oh, classic stuff. Fifth Avenue,
Okay.
um,
You like Score?
Score, Snickers,
Okay.
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh, you just Cindy. You and Cindy are gonna be great friends because
A
she
s
loves Scores and Reese's peanut butter
Oh,
cups.
do you guys have Trader Joe's
Yeah.
near you?
Yeah.
The Trader Joe's chocolate peanut butter cups are phenomenal.
Have you had Trader Joe's peanut butter cookie or peanut butter? It's what is it called? Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. It comes in a jar about yay big, and it's just like you could just sit there and eat it with a spoon. Oh my
Oh,
god!
it's like they call it a spread, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, but
That's a marital aid. Actually, it's
oh,
in the wrong section.
it's okay. Well, maybe so, but it's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
no.
good, and it keeps for like 100 years, so it's great.
Oh, there's a good thing.
Hey, you never know what might happen 10 years from now. I might be like, I'm really hungry and I'm too drunk off tequila to go to the store. So,
It's funny. Anything that can keep 100 years is not usually something that's really, really delicious. Not in this house.
I think that's when Twinkies were exposed finally, when
Right.
somebody said, stop doing those, stop eating those because they're, yeah.
And the
Okay.
McDonald's hamburger thing, where someone
Well,
has one that just
man,
like doesn't go away, doesn't
there's
disintegrate.
a trick with McDonald's. I mean, okay, if you hate McDonald's, you hate McDonald's, but there's a trick because I used to work at McDonald's 100 years ago. And when you go to McDonald's, if you order a hamburger, you're going to get what you would expect of a hamburger. But when you order, there's a certain thing called a grill order, where it's not just the one that they have under the heat lamp. They have to make it special just for you. So if you order it onions only or
No ketchup.
ketchup, something specific,
Yeah,
something that
right.
don't say no pickles, they'll just take the pickles off. Order it to something like if you say no ketchup, they can't remove the ketchup. So and every time I order a McDonald's hamburger, I order that way. Sometimes I just do mayonnaise only if I'm feeling crazy, but it's
Hmm.
always hot and fresh.
I did.
If I have to eat McDonald's, that's the way I'm gonna do it.
I've told people that because I don't personally do McDonald's, although it is really delicious. I'll give you that. But I tell Lynn, I said, you got to do a little something special on the order,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if
Yeah.
you want it to be fresh and
Hey,
hot.
look, at
So,
1 o'clock in the morning when you're leaving the bar and you're hungry, McDonald's suddenly doesn't sound so bad. You
so they
know.
have mayo there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I never knew that.
They,
Never.
they don't they don't put it on there if you order a burger. It doesn't come on there by. But if you say I want mayonnaise only, they will put mayonnaise on it. It's actually really good.
Do they have any items on their menu that they do put mayo on? Because talking about something that can last forever or
Uh,
not.
yeah, well, that's true. I don't know, honestly. I don't order a whole lot from
Wow.
McDonald's. I just
Hmm.
know that occasionally I'm craving a burger or I'm in a hurry or my wife says if you don't eat, don't come home, that kind of thing.
Because she doesn't want to cook for you, or you
No,
need to like
because
absorb the alcohol.
she knows I don't eat and I'm going to be out 3 or 4 or 5 hours working on computers, and she's like, you've got to eat something. I don't care if you go by McDonald's, get a burger or a chicken sandwich, just do something.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I'm not really craving chicken today because we've had chicken 3 days in a row. Let me go grab a burger, but I'm going to order a special burger.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, some people don't know that. Some people just order burgers and then they curse the burgers, but you can actually make them not taste so horrible.
It's a little life hack coming from your computer
That's
guy.
all about. We're all about life hacks, man. It's what we do here. It's what we do.
Oh God, the one that I love to ask is, have you ever been able to use super glue more than one time out of the tube?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, funny you should mention that.
No.
That's how
You
I
put
got.
that together with super glue.
That's what's okay. First of all, I had to cut this. For those of who aren't watching, I have a homemade cardboard silver play button, and the little button in the middle where the YouTube logo is. I had to cut that out and super glue that, and then to give it depth and make it beautiful,
Hmm.
because it looks. You can tell it's very, looks.
Oh, that's
I
a
had
masterpiece.
I know, right? It's not that, but it's homemade. Who cares? But anyway, yeah, I super glued that this morning, and now the pieces are solid. So yeah, there you go.
So it's not whether or not you've used super glue. Is the question
Twice.
was twice in the same day or twice ever?
Oh gosh,
It
no,
sounds like you just said you used super glue to make that, but I'm assuming that you made
no, no,
that in
no.
one
You said
sitting.
have I been able to use super glue more than twice in a tube?
Oh, okay. So your tubes don't lock up on you and get rock hard and solid and like
Yeah.
nuclear kind of rocky.
Well, you're supposed to put the cap back on it.
Oh, that's what
Man,
I've
that might be why
missed.
all your forks and knives and paper towels are stuck together. It could be
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kitchen gadget?
Oh
I should be
gosh,
asking your wife this.
Eloise.
That's her name?
This is where you go, okay, what the hell is Eloise?
Right.
For Christmas, it is my favorite gadget, but it's also because it's my wife's favorite gadget. For Christmas, I bought her a KitchenAid 6-quart stand mixer with
Ooh.
the attachments and all the things. She is fire engine red and beautiful. And it is the one thing that my wife refuses to take off of her kitchen countertops.
Oh, that's where it belongs. Where are you going to
Well,
put it?
right. I mean, as opposed to like putting it underneath the cabinets, out of sight, out of mind, minimalist kind of thing. No,
Have you
she
ever
named
lifted one of those things?
they're about 300 pounds.
Yeah.
But she named her Eloise, and she sits proudly on our kitchen countertop. And yeah, that's my favorite. Well, actually, the thing that I don't know is this is weird. Like the garlic or the onion thing, the press that's got like little blades in it. You just and it just makes a bunch of tiny. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Yep.
the garlic press or whatever. It's like
Hmm.
that is just it's so gratifying. My OCD. I'm so excited when I just scrunch it and it's just a bunch of little cubes, and I'm like that was so easy. And then I
Right.
have to wash it, and then it's not so easy. But
Right. All right. That's what
that's myself.
dishwashers are for.
Yeah. Well, and
Not.
actually, you know what? That's not my. I have a little orange spoon that has a little
Hmm.
happy face on it. It's like got the holes in there, and it just makes me happy stirring things with that. I don't know why. It's weird. I told her I'm going to go buy a bunch on Amazon so I don't have to use them. You know, I have to wash it every time I use it. I just love stirring with that thing. It gives me peace.
Do you have a special mug?
Besides my orgasm cup,
Yes.
um,
Like
uh,
a
I
drink cup that you would be willing to bring out in public.
Oh yeah, I used to. I actually, I was while I was building my YouTube business, I was door dashing up to 10 hours a day, and I would have my wife's. She has a tumbler, big tumbler that's got her name on it. It was a gift from a friend, and she never used it, so she's like, "Well, here you're gonna make half a pot of coffee to go DoorDash all day, so why don't you just take it?" So yeah,
Mm.
I was pretty much carrying out a Cindy tumbler cup with full of
Are
coffee.
are you?
I know you were not expecting these kinds of answers.
No, this is good.
Throw you off your game.
Are and that will happen from time to time. Are Uber Eats, DoorDash, and the like technology companies or restaurants?
Oh, they're tech companies.
Hmm.
They're tech companies. They don't care about the restaurants. They don't care about the drivers. They will squeeze every dime they can out of the customer and slowly whittle away how much they pay the drivers. And I know this because I did both Uber Eats, and DoorDash.
Hmm.
And what we saw is our pay go down while their pay went up, and the customers paying more for the food.
Also, they're leveraging the restaurants. So as a middleman, they're
Yeah.
hurting
Oh, they
everybody.
charge the restaurants more too. They
Hmm.
absolutely charge the restaurant. I talked to well, the liquor store around the corner who actually delivers using both of those platforms, and she was like, "Yeah, I asked her the price the same that I pay when I walk in here," and she says, "No, we have to increase the price to cover." And then you talk about like a $5 delivery fee. The driver doesn't get that. You know, all the other, it goes back to the company's bottom line. The driver gets some of it, but it's labeled as a delivery fee, so people see that and they think, well, I'm not tipping the driver because the driver's already getting that money.
You're a customer in a restaurant.
Yeah.
What's your stance on tipping then?
I'm going to, well, assuming it's a traditional, you know, you get your food and all that, and you're wrapping up and paying the bill, I'm going to always tip 15% regardless, just because you exist and you went and bought my food and refilled my drinks. Even if it wasn't the best service, I know what waiters and waitresses make and they live on their tips. And I get that.
Hmm.
So I'm going to tip 15, 20% on average.
Do
If
you
you
tip
give
on
me,
wine?
I tip on everything.
So you straight 15% across the board.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that's if you just exist and bring me my food and don't spit in it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
If you've given me exceptional service, if you've, as you're walking by, you're like, hey, pointing you, hey, you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You know what? You take care of me and make my dining experience enjoyable. You keep
Hmm.
my wife happy. You keep our drinks full. You anticipate us needing a to-go box because you see that half the food's left. I'm gonna give you 20-25% easily,
Okay.
probably, just
Okay.
because you've earned it.
But that's a little
I'm
bit
not
of
going
a
to tip you. I'm
fantasy
not going to tip
land.
you just because you exist.
Right.
But I'm basically going to allow. I'm just going to. It's easier just to give somebody 15% because I don't want them seeing me come back later and then going, "Hey, that's the guy that didn't give me anything." I'm going to throw his food on the floor and then put it back on a plate.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah. People's expectation and response to the way
Right.
the tipping has become with the little tablet or whatever
Oh
they
yeah.
put
Oh
there,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a very awkward experience.
100%. We got a little a coffee shop here, a little local homegrown coffee shop that it's got all the technology. You can swipe your debit card or whatever, and they got a tip jar. And I'm like, for what? I'm not tipping my barista. I'm not tipping a tip is to ensure promptness. That's what
That's
it
right.
stands for.
Right.
It's what it stands for. And that's if you do your job and you are prompt and you do, you're going to be rewarded. Running a cash register and charging me over $6 for a coffee doesn't deserve a tip. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Now, if it's a quarter, it's the same thing. If a bellhop takes your luggage, you can give him a few dollars, or the driver that drives you a little bus around. If you have, when you're on vacation, give him a little few bucks. He's earning it,
Hmm.
But I'm not going to tip you just because you breathe, but I'm going to tip you well if you do a good job for me.
Okay, so
Simple as that.
we would have to say put you in the pro column of being a tipper for
Yeah, I'm
any
not against.
product or service.
I don't think that there will rarely be a time where I will not tip anything. I'm
Hmm.
not one of these
Hmm.
people going to leave 6 cents on the table as punishment for you. I will
Right.
probably tip you 15%, but when you come over to collect it, I'm going to probably tell you, you know what? Here's a bunch of things you did wrong for future reference. Take it,
Right.
and if you still have a job next time I see you, hopefully you will have heard that.
What's your favorite pro sport?
Right now, I've always been a big NFL guy. Uh, Admittedly, when Tiger was playing, I was not going to miss if Tiger was playing because the man could just do things on a golf course that just defy physics and logic. Same
Hmm.
with Jordan. I'm a big Jordan fan all the way back to 94, 84. Been following his career. Love that man. So basketball and golf for a while, but NFL, I'm a Tampa fan. I lived in Tampa Bay in 1976 when the team was founded. I've been a Tampa Bay fan forever, and believe me, I catch all kinds of hell about Tom Brady. I'm like, no, I'm not a Brady fan. I'm a
Right.
Tampa fan. I was there when they could not buy a game, and so we got 2 Super Bowls in our pocket now. I can live with that. And
Hmm.
that Baker Mayfield, he's something else too. So we'll see
Oh
how that
yeah.
goes.
Oh, very good. So Scott, before we say aloha for today,
Yes,
give us the Reader's Digest version of Ask Your Computer Guy.
Ask Your Computer Guy is a place where it's safe to go and ask questions that you don't feel like you're smart enough to be asking. You feel like this is a dumb question and you end up in trouble because you just don't know what you don't know. That's a place you can go. You're Most people are just basic novice Windows users and they know how to do 5 or 6 things, and Windows is going to happen. And I'm there to show you that it doesn't have to be a horrible experience. And I'm reachable.
Perfect, man. I had a really good time. I hope you did too.
Oh man, I can't wait until, well, let's hope you like the edit enough to where you go, hey, I could have this guy back on.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
editing will be a lot of fun on a 3 hour program.
Hey, it's your podcast, buddy. You could have cut it off anytime.
Well, I'll be calling you up for little hacks and tips on how to do that, how to
Hey,
make
I
that
know a guy.
less painful.
Guy. Yeah, no, listen, it's been fantastic. I enjoyed it tremendously. I wasn't sure what I was going to expect, but it's nice to actually talk to you in person and share some stuff. And it let me kind of get out of my own bubble for a while, and I think that was healthy. Now I have to leave and go marinate some steaks before my wife kills me.
I want to know how that turns out.
Oh, absolutely. I'll even send you a picture.
Cool. That sounds
You
great. Thank you
can't taste
so
it, but you can
much.
at least see it.
Well,
Okay.
do the scratch and sniff thing or whatever's current these days because,
I'll
the
just
kids, they have all
I'll
this
send you a
stuff.
picture of me just rubbing my belly. How about that?
With that and some of that schmear you're talking about from Trader Joe's,
Right? Right.
right?
Yeah. No,
You
not on
got it all.
the. Hey, take care of yourself, buddy. I enjoyed it.
50 Tastes of Grey was a great place for you today. You did a great job, and I want to
Thank you.
say aloha, Scott.
Thank you. Aloha to you too. I enjoyed the hell out of it. We'll talk to you
Take,
soon.
take care.
Okay, bye.